is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering WestWorld, Season 1, Episode 10, The Bicameral Mind. In this episode, well, I said that I wouldn't like it if it turned out that Ford just got his way in the end. But I'll be the first to tell you that I was wrong. He got his way, and I liked it. Welcome to Unspoiled. To the show, everybody. I'm Natasha.
I'm RoShawn.
I don't know where to start here, guys. All right. No, you know what? I do fucking know where to start. Okay. Let's have a little talk about how HBO decided they were going to play a trailer for their own channel that I'm already watching before the episode started, and that trailer contained a very short, however still somewhat spoilery shot of a bunch of naked hosts coming towards the man in black.
Did it really?
It sure the fuck did. Now,
what the fuck, HBO?
This is something I have run across on Hulu. They played a fucking trailer for the second season of a show that I was watching the first season of. So I got to see all of these people that I know for sure are either survived or not, or dead, as one character mentions in that trailer. It wasn't as bad as that, because It wasn't a full trailer, but still, Jesus, you know? But, yeah, so that pisses me off, and I tagged them in a tweet about it, and they did not reply. And I just played the beginning of the episode, and it definitely still has that same trailer. So when I tagged Hulu in the offending on the offending day, they got back to me right away and were like, "Oh God, we're sorry. We are going to look into that." And I'm like, "You think?" But HBO has not deigned to reply.
Yeah, HBO is definitely not Hulu.
So, the one thing I will say, though, despite that being somewhat spoilery, I watched this episode the first time broken up into two pieces because my internet was on the fritz and I kept having to restart it, and then I had to record with Maggie, so I had to stop about an hour in, which was murder, and go record, and then when I came out, Owen was home, so I couldn't finish it. So by the time I got to the part that had been spoiled for me, I'd kind of forgotten about the spoiler. So it didn't wind up actually really mattering that much.
Good. And it's I'm curious what you thought when you saw that snippet, because out of context, like, what the fuck did you even think was happening?
Honestly, I did this thing that I've learned to do, and you might have started to learn to do this also, where you just stop thinking about something.
Yes. Yeah, I did that tremendous amount of times during our Harry Potter experience. Like, I would get spoiled and forget I had gotten spoiled. I would become sort of hyper aware of possible spoilers and, like, panic, you know? And jettison from whatever the situation was. So yeah, I totally get that.
Jettison is an excellent word for that. Just really, that really nails the feeling of just being like, I'm out.
Yes. It's like the eject button in a fucking fighter plane.
So this episode was a wild ride.
Yeah, it was.
We start, I'm like jumping ahead here so that I know exactly, because is there a moment before the actual, no, there isn't. I was just checking to make sure if there was a moment before the opening credits, but it's just the men in black saying hello, Dolores, and then we go into credits. It starts off with the first day of Dolores' life and her waking up.
Yeah, this shot of her lying on the table is bananas.
Yeah, it is.
It is so creepy and upsetting.
And when she sits up and she's all gears and whatnot. Have you seen Ex Machina?
No, I haven't.
Yo, that is a good fucking movie. I could talk about that movie for a minute. But it really reminded me of that because in that movie there's some AI going on that have like very human faces, but the face is really the only human part. And everything else is real weird looking.
I don't know if I could take a whole movie of that.
It's really well done.
This 30 seconds of Dolores is just, it's too much. It's too much.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say it like does this really beautiful close shot of her face when she wakes up. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
And it's a very quick moment, but it's so striking.
Yeah.
It really does feel like this is her waking up for the first time. Like, I bought it. I completely bought it.
And I really need to give this actress props again. Like, I know I've been saying this, but she is just amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know where they've been hiding her because I don't feel like I've seen her in other stuff. If I have, she's got a generic enough forgive me face that I might have just forgotten.
I feel like the only thing I know about her was from 20 years ago. Wasn't she one of the kids in that movie 13? Do you remember that movie?
I don't know that movie now.
About the two, it was like, it's about these two 13-year-old girls, and it's just, when it came out, it was lauded as being, like, so authentic, and, like, because the girls were doing all kinds of crazy drugs, and sex, and shoplifting, and crazy shit, and then, like, the big thing is you know, oh, but they're only 13. It was forever ago. And I don't even know if I might be confusing her with someone, but I feel like she was in that, and I can't name anything else she was in.
Huh. Yeah, no, I did not know. Have never heard of that, I don't think.
And I might be confused. Apparently she was in True Blood? I don't remember that.
I don't remember either, but I didn't watch all of True Blood either, so that might be why.
Apparently she was on it for years.
Huh.
Yeah, she was in that movie 13. Okay. That's the main thing I remember her from. Oh, she was in a bunch of shit that I didn't watch.
This role, I feel like, really gives you an opportunity as an actress to just stretch your legs.
Yeah.
You know, she gets to be the sweet, innocent ingenue. She gets to be terrified. And then she gets to be terrifying. And she does it beautifully. And then there's moments like this where she's waking up and a blank slate. And she really does feel like a blank slate. She's not exactly sweet.
I agree.
She's just kind of puzzled and like amiable, but also it feels like she could go either way if you pushed her. Like, you know, like there's something about trying to be this kind of, that I was thinking it over, how I would approach trying to play this moment. And I don't know where the fuck I'd even begin.
Right.
You know?
I mean, because you can do a lot of kind of boring Pinocchio style things, or you could do the thing like Data from Star Trek Next Generation kind of thing, which is just sort of an extension of the whole weird Pinocchio, I'm a real boy now kind of thing.
Right.
And she, I think, avoids that.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about her, honestly. And I can't recall any award situation because I don't follow that sort of stuff.
Same.
You know, I don't watch any of the Emmys or the SAGs or any kind of stuff like that. I very rarely ever remember who's even won. I had a moment at work today where I couldn't remember if the Oscars happened this year.
I can understand not knowing that.
It was the weirdest thing. I don't know why it popped in my head. Oh, you know what? Because I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about award shows and talking about Oscars. And I was like, oh, the Oscars should be happening any minute now. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, they happen in February.
Yep.
did they happen this year? And I could not remember anything about it. And maybe 5 minutes later, I was like, oh, that weird fish movie won.
Fish movie.
That's all I know about the Oscars from this last year.
and Get Out won for Best Screenplay.
Right. That's right.
Which
That's
is
right.
Good.
Yeah. So all of that to say, she should have gotten all the things, all the awards, but I don't know if that actually happened.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not as, like, I used to get really excited about award shows when I was younger just because I loved the clothes. And I just wanted to see what everybody was wearing. Mm-hmm. And in order to, like, enjoy that part of it, you have to have cable, usually. Like, there's, like, the pre-shows and whatnot. Yeah. And so with the way things are now, I just don't have that same exposure to it. I get all of what are people wearing via stills that people post on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot.
Right. I don't know when I stopped watching. I used to watch them all the time when I was a kid, but I also used to watch a lot of beauty pageants when I was a kid too. But yeah, at least the last 20 years, without a doubt, I haven't seen a single award show, because that's something me and Steve talked about. And I don't know why I remember that, but one of our early first dates. And before, I don't know what happened. Yeah.
Well, all right. So,
anywho,
we have to not do this episode because we have an hour and a half of content to get through.
All right, focus.
So it cuts from her waking up and being greeted by Arnold to her shaving the man in black, who we now know is William, but I'm going to continue calling him the man in black. And it's really just, like, I think him proving a point that she can hate him and have a knife to his throat and not do anything about it. Mm-hmm. And it's really just kind of a mean thing. And her hand is shaking while she's doing this. The whole thing just feels so tense.
Yeah.
And then
You've seen The Color Purple, right?
Yes, but I was really young. I was like 8 or 9 years old.
You should watch again. There's that scene where Celie is shaving Mister on the front porch of the house. Mm-hmm. And she has the straight razor. She's not using a knife like Dolores, but she just has like a old-fashioned straight razor. Mm-hmm. And she's shaving him, and she's so filled with rage that it's so tense because you can see her hand shaking like she's really going to kill this fucking guy this minute in this moment. And it's such a wonderful, wonderful shot. And this scene made me think of that. Sort of, that weird power dynamic where the person that is, I don't want to say abusing you, it has so much power over you that they can put a knife in your hand and have you put it to their throat, and they're so sure you won't hurt them.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting that you bring that up, because there's a whole thing that I want to talk about at the end of this.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
We'll get there. Okay. So, she is in the middle of like a kind of memory again and sees Arnold walking away towards the church, and she drops the knife and follows him, and the man in black seems to take this as a signal that she is leading him on to the next thing. Everything's about him, of course.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, he's still so convinced that he is important to this story.
Yep.
You know, he's so used to being the star of his own fucking narrative that he doesn't realize that this is... We've been telling him all series that this is not for you. Yep. The maze is not for you. And he won't hear it. He will not hear it.
No. He's a dude.
Yeah, dude's gonna dude.
They are gonna dude. So we cut from them to William. What?
I just want to say that there's a thing where he's telling her that they've been here before. She's like, I've never been to this town. And he's like, yeah, you have. And you brought me here once before.
Oh, okay.
And he starts talking about Arnold. And that's when she sees him.
Oh, okay. So that's what triggers it. I got you. Okay, so then to William and Logan. And Logan is telling William the thing that is true, which is they're just going to wipe her and put her back in Sweetwater, and that'll be it. Mm-hmm. But William is not going to let this go. And he winds up finding out where Alonzo. Alonzo. Is it Alonzo? I can never remember.
It's Alonzo and also Lorenzo.
That's why.
It's not... two different. He's Alonzo with William, but he's Lawrence or with the Man in Black.
I feel better now. And apparently William is planning on getting their help because he's got a bunch of guys with him to find her. Mm-hmm. That's going to be like their mission now, which I was really curious how he was going to make this happen. And then we cut again. We get a lot of quick cuts in the beginning of this to Teddy, who's walking into town and in his usual loop. And then all of a sudden he stops and sees all these bodies scattered everywhere. And he looks over and sees Dolores standing there, and some guy bumps into him, takes him out of it, and he loses it and shoots the dude.
Yeah.
Which was kind of amazing because we haven't actually seen this before.
Right.
From him.
And when we had seen Teddy last at the campfire and right before that girl kills him basically with the arrow, she says that he's close, but he's not quite ready yet.
Right.
And then we see him remember almost right away. He doesn't even have to get all the way into his loop before he remembers. As soon as he gets off the train, he starts to remember and gets right back on task, to get to Dolores.
Yeah, I'm not sure, and I don't think they tell us. But if it was that her killing him sent him back and Ford did something to speed things up, or if this is just naturally accelerating every time he's dropped back into this world.
I feel like it's supposed to be naturally accelerating.
Okay.
Because the whole sort of theme of the whole thing is that these few select, because it's not all of them, but it's just like a hand. Ford says it's a handful. Are all having this experience that they've had multiple times of sort of awakening, and then just kind of resetting. And this is something that happens. Only the difference this time as we're watching is that whatever has been done to them to sort of roll them back isn't being done anymore.
Right. Okay. So, sorry, this is jumping around so much because then Teddy, he sees her, he shoots the guy, he says Dolores out loud. And then we cut to Dolores, who's going up to Arnold in the church saying, I know where your maze ends. And we see her take his hand and go outside. And then it switches to now, and she's with a man in black. And the maze ends at a grave that has her name on it. And there is a toy buried there.
She says a wonderful thing right before she starts. She says the maze ends at something, I'm paraphrasing, but something like, at something that I could never do, a place I could never be.
Right.
Which, of course, for them is dead. But they don't ever actually die. And she digs, and then she finds the actual, literally, a little toy maze.
Yeah.
And the man in black is pissed.
Oh, my God. It's almost like everybody told you this was what was going to happen, dude.
Right?
And we switch back to the past, and Arnold is there saying, when I was working on your mind, I thought it was a pyramid you needed, so I gave you a voice to guide you along the way. And he's drawing this little diagram for her. Memory, improvisation, each step harder to reach than the last, and you never got there. I couldn't understand what was holding you back. Then one day, I realized I had made a mistake. And he draws these 3 circles around it. Consciousness isn't a journey upward, it's a journey inward. And this is something that he kind of says later when he's talking to Maeve, is your memories are like the foundation of this, because you can't learn from mistakes if you can't remember mistakes. And remembering mistakes and thinking about why you made them is an inward journey.
Right.
Which is to say that we claim human beings have consciousness, but many of us don't. Because we don't think about why we made the mistakes we made, or the fact that we made mistakes at all.
Right.
Because most of us are idiots, myself included.
And he says a thing, too, where he explains to Dolores here in this scene where he's drawing the maze for her. He says, I gave you my voice to guide you, but the hope is that eventually you'll hear your voice. And that will be sort of the sign that you've reached it.
And that's an interesting thing, too, because, like, I just started going to therapy a couple months ago, and one of the things they ask is, when you have negative self-talk, who do you hear in your head? When it's, like, whose voice is it? I was just talking
about this with a group somewhere.
Yeah. So I think that's an interesting thing to be like, once you are only hearing your own voice and not the voice of someone in your past telling you how things are or how you are, that is probably a big step.
Well, there's a whole thing, too, about what makes us different from animals, right? And if I'm got this completely wrong, you guys can not tell me about it.
Keep that shit to yourself.
It has something to do with, like, we're the only ones that actually think about our existence. We're, we think about the fact that we think. And an AI creation, or a robot or a host or whatever these, whatever you want to call these things, really shouldn't do that.
Right.
And that's where he's wanting Dolores to get to.
Right.
Which makes the ending, not the big ending, but that scene that she has towards the end, like, so wonderful when it's just her.
And that's what ultimately he couldn't get past, because once they contemplate why they exist, then they go insane.
Yeah.
Because they're stuck here with no meaning beyond being playthings of people and never actually escaping through death. That's not even an answer. So they just go nuts, which you would do.
Right. I mean, hell, most of us humans go nuts when we think about that stuff too much.
It's true. But we get to just kill ourselves and be done with it. Supposedly.
So, we find out, and we kind of knew this, that Arnold has decided that the park is no good.
Right.
And he thinks he can convince Ford to not open.
Right.
And that was the sort of flash that Dolores had seen in the last episode, where she watches Ford go storming, like old Ford, or young Ford, go storming into the office. Old young Ford.
Yeah, Yeah, and when she next talks to him, he looks really agitated and says he wants me to roll you back.
Yeah, and this is when he makes the decision.
And he says, he understands that even if I do, you will find your way back again. It doesn't matter, like, at this point, it's done. Yeah. So I can make him feel better by doing that, but eventually this is all going to break through again.
Yep.
So
that he's got her started on this loop of nearing consciousness, but not quite getting there. And the implication is that she has been on this loop for 30 years, this almost getting it and then not, and then almost getting it and then not, over and over and over again, which comes up later in a conversation between Bernard and Maeve. But yeah. Okay.
So at this point he tells her that I need you to kill every host in the park. You probably can't handle that by yourself, so I'm sure Teddy can do anything for you.
Yep, Teddy's very accommodating.
And that, and then he starts to load another character into her. And this, like I had said before, it was like there were two different characters in her. And that is precisely what is going on. She is Wyatt. Wyatt's all up in that shit.
When you were talking about, there were a couple of moments during the recording where you mentioned about Dolores being, possibly being Wyatt. And then you had also mentioned in the last episode your crazy theory about William and the Man in Black being the same person. And I just had to sit here like you weren't just saying all the shit.
Now you know how I felt during Harry Potter. When in episode 2, I think, you were like, what, was Snape in love with Harry's mom or something? And I was like, yeah, sure, that's what it is. Oh God. And I got like so many DMs from people going, I can't believe you held it together. I was going to lose my shit. That's what I'm here for, guys. Yeah, this like, again, this actress was so convincing that I could see she was two people. That's fucking talent, guys. And she really is scary when she's Wyatt. She's fucking breathtakingly frightening. When
the next scene, when it's back to her and the Man in Black and he's getting all like a fucking aggressive.
Oh my God.
And then she has that moment where she switches.
Yo.
Listen, I was like, whoa, I would have taken a step or two back had I been him.
I think he does, doesn't he? I'm going to that spot right now.
He didn't go far enough back because she fucked that ass all up. And it was so satisfying to watch.
Yeah, because he sees this friggin' toy and it's just like, that can't be it. I know that literally everyone said that I wouldn't want this and that it wasn't satisfying, but it can't be.
Right.
That it can't be it. And then he starts to get really violent with her. And then it cuts to Charlotte and Smallwood, who he is trying to feel out why she's collecting all of this information, and says something about blackmail, and she's like, lol, no.
Yeah.
That's not even remotely big enough.
Right.
And
I want to mention unless I'm ahead of you, which I don't think I am. I might be. When the Man in Black is getting aggressive with Dolores, and she starts to talk about how there's somebody that will save her. Or am I ahead of you?
You are ahead of me.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Yeah. She just says his path will lead back to me. He'll find you and he'll
That's right.
You.
She doesn't say who it is. She just says that he'll find me. Okay.
And at this point, of course, the viewer thinks that she is talking about Teddy because he is on his way.
Right. But we all know. Well, I don't know. Did you know?
I did not know at this point.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't know at this point that she was still like trapped in the past here.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, this conversation with Charlotte, he's over here being like, oh, you're going to need somebody to fill the position. And she says, yeah, well, good timing, I guess. And pats him on the shoulder and tells him that he can have his way with all the narratives and the hosts and whatever, but that she wants them to be simpler and more manageable because the place is complicated enough as it is. Which she's not wrong.
Yeah,
she has seen the writing on the wall, but just a little too late. By a little, I mean a decade, probably.
Or 30 years.
Right.
So, when did we talked about this a little bit in earlier episodes, but when did it hit you about the different timelines and how we were experiencing this show?
Well, I didn't really think about it until last episode. Okay. And then this episode, again, I am like, I was still not sure about anything.
Okay.
So there wasn't enough evidence in the scene with her talking to the Man in Black to know when she like was in her head.
Right. Okay.
You know, I could see where she was, and I could guess because of my theory on who he was. But I didn't know when she thought she was.
Okay.
Because we're not in her head in that. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Well, we're just sort of watching her experience, and we make an assumption that what we're seeing is what's happening.
Right.
And that's the kind of the trick that the show plays, is that you get so comfortable watching through her eyes, sort of, that you just sort of take for granted that everything is what it is.
Right.
And then it turns out that, of course it's not. But, okay. Do you, how do you think that worked now that you look back on the whole season? Did you think it was effective, or did you feel like it wasn't really, or?
Well, now see, it depends on what the effect is meant to be.
Okay.
If what they wanted was to make the viewer feel as wildly disoriented as the hosts do, which is clearly what's going on with Dolores. She doesn't know what's real and what's happening and what's not happening and what's a memory and what's fake. And
right.
So we're having that exact same thing with her. So I think that's a really interesting method, and I think that does work because we don't know, and it is really disorienting. But it's kind of a funny thing because it's not like we didn't have anything to talk about with the show, but I feel like that other shows that I've seen that had that kind of dreamlike narrative, and the one that always comes to mind for me is Hannibal, because there's enormous sections of that show where you don't know what's real and what's not.
Yes, that is so fucking true. Good Lord.
It is really...
Talk about being immersed in like a bunch of shit. You have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden they like drop this bomb on you and you're like, oh my God. The one thing that they were able to do was make that the moments that weren't real, they had a slightly surreal quality, but they never were, there was still like a kind of a line where even if you didn't know if something was real, you could tell if you could feel that the character was deciding whether it was real or not. Like, and that was the part that I had trouble with in this show, was that I couldn't tell what the characters were going with. I couldn't so it was hard for me to make decisions or to have a conversation about it, because with something like Hannibal, I'm able to be like, well, clearly he sees this, so he thinks blank, 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 but I'm not sure that that's actually what's happening.
Right.
And in this, I'm like, I saw blank, blank, blank. I don't know if he saw that. Mm-hmm. Was she there even when that happened? Or is she just seeing herself? Or like there were so many versions of unreality. Right. Her watching things that had happened. Her watching herself walking by. Which doesn't really, like, even with things clear from the final episode, that still doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Really?
Like, how did she ever see herself walking by?
Well, the way when I watched this, and like I said, I watched it and was watching it with other people online, and one of the things that, like, once I realized that there were 3 distinct times that we were watching, right? And so it's not so much whether something really happened, but whether it was happening, quote unquote, now.
Right.
So once I realized that we were watching 3 timelines, you know, there's before the park opened, there's 30 years ago after Arnold with William and Logan, and then there's now.
Right.
Once I realized that, I was able to tell where we were in time by who was in the scene, and really just basic stuff like what people were like wearing. And if you think about it, like time-wise, she sees herself walk by in Pariah. But she's not seeing herself walk by. She's remembering that she had been there before.
That's it. So, okay. Because the way that's filmed, it feels like she sees herself.
Right. And so then, like, later, towards the end of the episode when she has the conversation with herself and she says that, oh, you've been guiding me. It's almost like it's a weird thing because when you think about how our inner monologues go, right? Mm-hmm. You just, go to a store and you know that you were at that store last Tuesday. But what would it look like if you saw your memory mm-hmm. as opposed to just thinking about the memory? Mm-hmm. Like if you were in Target today and you had been there last Tuesday buying cat litter, would you see yourself standing in the aisle buying cat litter? Like, what would our memories look like if we could see them?
I mean, we can see them because they're in our head.
But that's the thing, though. Like, what if they weren't just in our head? Like, what if we could
But aren't their memories formulated from, like, recordings of them from their eyes? And this is my question, because we had that other thing with the guy who's humping the dead hosts, and the recording looked like it was from above.
Okay, wait,
she said there's a misconception that hosts are like powered down and don't continue to record feedback.
Oh yeah, see that I don't know about, because that was an excellent point you brought up, and it doesn't make sense because that angle of him doing the rabbit pump, oh, so awful. I agree. That doesn't look like a host perspective. That looks like a security camera.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know what that was, but...
And then there's Maeve, who they play, like, what looks like film of her playing outside with her daughter. Like there was a camera. But when she pictures her memories, it seems like she sees herself in her memories.
Well, I think with Dolores, because she's the one that we're seeing everything through.
Right.
We get to see her memories, if that makes sense.
And like Maeve, with Maeve.
We watch Maeve remember.
Right.
We see Dolores remember. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you know what I mean? Like we're watching Maeve be Maeve. But with Dolores, I think we're supposed to kind of be like in Dolores.
I don't see that. I don't see a difference. Oh. The two of them both seem like their memories both are from third person. They both see themselves as if they were outside standing and watching themselves. Both of them do.
Maeve doesn't do that.
Yes, she does. When we see her memory, we see her like she dreams that she's out with her daughter dancing around.
We don't see Maeve standing in the house watching Maeve try to protect her daughter. You know what I mean? Like, there's never a scene in the series where there's Maeve dressed like Maeve from the bar watching Maeve dressed like a pioneer woman.
Okay. I see. So we see her memories. But with Dolores, we see her memories with her as an outside observer.
Yes.
In the scene with the memory playing simultaneously around her.
Yes.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Huh. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, and like, you know, like the question that you had earlier about like who did I think was coming for her, it isn't like where she is in time isn't even relevant anymore because it's where she thinks she is in time that answers that question, you know. So yeah. So all right, so we're getting hung up again.
I know, I'm sorry. All right. We got a lot to get to. Sorry guys.
So we go back into the labs where they're creating another person with the crazy plaster looking bones.
I want to know all about that.
I have a feeling they're going to get into this next season.
I hope so, man.
And then we have Felix approaching Maeve, looking like he might vomit at any second. Felix the one good ally, apparently, in this entire place. And she takes his little control panel and makes a bunch of changes to her two sidekicks. Mm-hmm. And this is pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
I enjoy her making adjustments and watching Felix and making adjustments and looking at Felix, constantly assessing whether or not he's about to try and stop her finally.
Oh my God.
Because I think she keeps waiting for him to change his mind and say this enough is enough. And he doesn't ever do it. Even at the very last moment, she pulls a gun in the elevator and I was like, is she just going to decide to like waste Felix? Mm-hmm. And I think he wondered that himself. Mm-hmm. But even so, finally he's like, are you going to be okay? And she realizes it's fine and puts the gun in her purse. And Felix is like the one sweet, too pure for this world little man.
Is. How adorable is that moment later when he finds out about Bernard? And then he like looks at himself like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Him and the rest of America.
She's like, oh, relax.
Right? So we go from her doing all of these adjustments and seeing underneath Armisis's and, what is it? Carl? What's his name? Hector. That's the one.
Carl.
Oh, right. Carl's the name of his character in fucking Love Actually. That's why I did that. But you can see their eyes like jumping around under their eyelids, like when people are having really intense REM sleep.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we go to Charlotte, who is
she's so smug. I love that outfit though.
This is a good outfit. It really does look like a pale version of Teresa's outfit because Teresa has a really similar outfit. It does.
That's exactly what it looks like.
I really like this scene because I think that you're right. She's so smug, but she also looks like the smug is an act.
She's faking it till she makes it.
Yeah. It really does. Like she walks out and he says, see you tonight. And she stops like that. Shook. Really just doesn't sit well with her.
Yep. Like everything is such an affect. Like she sits down on his desk, which is like, why can't you sit in a chair? Right. Is there even a chair there? Maybe there's not a chair there. But she sits on his desk super casual and like leans on some kind of weird thing he has on his desk.
Yeah.
It's very sort of territorial. Like she just comes and invades his whole space with no respect. Yeah.
Because she thinks that that's an effective power play.
Exactly.
Not understanding that this man is so far past her level that this shit just seems kind of like embarrassing. And
transparent.
Yeah.
And all he has to say is, see you tonight. Like he doesn't even say anything threatening.
Yep.
And she stops and she looks fucked up.
Yep.
And I don't even want to say it's even how he said it. Because he just says, we'll see you tonight.
Yep.
But I think it's because she knows that she's outmatched.
Right.
And she falters.
I think that he acts so unconcerned too, is what's kind of fucking her up. That there's no pushback from him. There's no panic. There's no outrage. There's no, you can't do this to me. I built this place.
Right.
So she knows he's got to have something up his sleeve, but he's not. His poker face is just impeccable, and she can't.
It really is. He says something to her like, "Aren't you afraid I'll just smash all my toys and go home?" Mm-hmm. And she's like, "No, because I know you. You wouldn't. That's what this park does. It tells us who you are."
Yeah.
And clearly, she has no idea who he is.
Like, this park tells us who you are. Has she followed him into the park while he goes on a narrative?
I mean... Like,
what are you even trying to say, lady?
I think she's trying to say that his stories reveal something about him. Like, the narratives that he puts out reveal something about him. But, I mean, I will say this much. I when I watched this the first time, I did not know anything about Ford. Like, I had him wrong the entire series.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, it was sort of a Snape thing. Like, at the end, I'm like, oh, wait, you're helping them, you know? I thought you were the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another example of the show making us feel like the hosts feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, putting us in that same position of seeing him as the enemy, who's a sadist and has a power trip happening.
Yep.
All right, so now let's go downstairs to Hector and Armistice.
And the almost rape.
This dude already got caught by
Doesn't give a fuck.
Elsie, and he's just about to do this shit again. This guy says at some point you're going to get caught doing this shit. I'm like, he was already.
He already got caught.
Apparently did not learn his fucking lesson. And this kid is really good at being a fucking creep.
Yeah.
And at being a creep in a way that I feel like we don't see often, where it's not the like mouth breathing, sweaty, like, you know, it's a very confident creep. It's a whole other thing. So he puts in some earbuds and gets out some lube and gets to work.
Right.
And
He's ready to go
very
to town.
distracted and does not see what's happening in the other. And I'm
oh my God,
watching this guy take her mouth guards out, and I'm like, oh, she's going to bite those fingers.
When he
right
takes
the fuck
his
off.
glove off, I knew what was happening too. Yeah.
And it's the look on her face. Armistice, I said it when we first met her, and I'll say it again. I love her. She's my favorite.
I love her too, yeah.
And I am so excited that the show, like, kept her as long as it did. Right till the end.
When she shoots the machine gun for the first time.
Oh my God.
The pure joy and delight on her face.
That laugh, she goes, that is the laugh that I get when I take a bite of really amazing cheesecake.
That's how I laughed when I saw the dragon at WestWorld. My sister and brother-in-law still tease me about it because apparently you can hear me on the video. They said, "Why did you laugh like you were French?" And I was like, "I don't know. It just happened."
Oh. So she bites this guy's finger right off.
And there's a fly in the room.
Yes. That keeps happening, right?
I don't know what to make of that, but it's
something.
Yeah, it's a thing. I don't know what it is, but it's something.
And then she starts to toss him around. Now, reminder, this woman is buck-ass naked.
Again, right? It
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Not even a little.
I don't know how they managed to do that so effectively, but she retains all her power even though she doesn't have a stitch of clothing on.
Yep.
And it's not sexual or objectifying or any of the stuff that we are usually concerned with.
Yep.
You know, it's just like she just happens to be naked because this is the part of the process, you know?
Yep.
Like, it's no big deal.
Yeah, it's like almost as if the actress was imagining that she had clothes on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she was like, I'm going to act this as if I was wearing my boots and my fucking poncho and pants and was throwing this guy around outside in the field. Mm-hmm. Same exact shit.
Yep. Which I
and
imagine
let's not forget that as she tosses him around, she walks over and spits the finger out. She's been holding that shit in her mouth the whole time.
Yes. And then she puts it in his mouth.
Oh, it's so messed up.
Oh, man.
That is really, that's some shit, man.
Yeah. And meanwhile, this guy's in the other room jerking off and, you know, listening to his music, and he's about to go nuts.
Listen, I want to know what that song is, though. I'm not going to lie. I did like that. But yeah, this whole thing. Yeah. And that tattoo looks so badass.
It does. It really does.
God.
Yeah, this whole sequence is amazing.
You know what her tattoo kind of reminds me of is what Susan's tattoo is supposed to be like. You know what I'm talking about?
I didn't even think of that.
But similar, like all the way up from her foot up to, I think Susan's goes over her face, but.
I would love to get one like that. It's like from top to bottom.
Can you imagine how much that shit would cost? It's got to be a couple $1,000s, right?
Exactly, for me now too. But yeah, yeah.
Also, I'm gonna objectify her for a second and just talk about how perfect her tits are.
Well,
listen,
it is TV.
You know, I just every now and then, having big boobs can be really lovely, but they are very inconvenient. Like, just incredibly so. Women who are like, don't you wish that it was socially acceptable to not wear bras? I'm like, no. Even if it were, I would still fucking wear a bra. There's no way. But if I had tits like her, I could just pull on a little sundress. Yeah. Boom, I'm dressed.
Right. I used to have tits like her. And then, I don't know.
I used to have a B cup when I was thin. All my weight gain, first it went to my boobs. I'm lucky that way. But then it didn't.
Then it went elsewhere.
We reached maximum capacity. Please redirect to the stomach area. So she throws that guy through the plate glass, and finally Chester the molester turns around, and this moment, Hector, it's just you and me now, my friend, and slices him right through the chest.
Right through, all the way through.
Goddamn.
And Maeve comes in and she's like, I see you. Oh my God,
Holy
are you fucking serious?
Crap.
These fucking people, I swear to God, you guys, I'm gonna.
That sounded like they went right through your living room. Like,
it
honestly,
felt like they went right
what
through
are
my
they even
living
doing?
Like, I swear to God. Anyway, sorry. Maeve comes in and she's like, so you've met our makers. And Armistice is like, what did she say about the gods? They don't look like gods.
They don't look like gods.
And she says and Maeve's like, they're not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this whole moment is really like, you really stop and think about, what if we found out that there were gods, but they were like the Greek gods, where they were just really annoying, petty people. Yeah. What a disappointing revelation that would be, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's fun to hear about them story-wise, but they've got your fate in your hands, and they're just dicking around with it.
Yeah, well... You know.
So then Mr. Sylvester
walks in.
Walks in a bad moment. The poor guy isn't ready.
And Armistice is like, this one has a guilty look. And he's like, no, that's just my face.
It's just my face. That's what I look like all the time. Sorry,
he's like, tell her it's my face.
I love him. Like, I don't. He's awful, but this actor is pretty good.
Yeah. And so he tells them that he's pulled up her code and someone has been in there messing around.
Mm-hmm.
And someone has been accessing Maeve's code and making changes to her
so
core
that she
programming.
Can wake up out of sleep mode, which was the first step to all of this shit.
Yep.
Just and the simple act of waking up.
Yep. And it was done by Arnold. But Sylvester has no idea who that is.
Right. And she doesn't either.
Right. But she says she has an idea.
So she walks out with her new recruits. I love that Armistice stands next to the glass and kisses
Oh my God, it's so great.
She's just fucking trolling them. She trolls Felix later too, blowing on the back of his neck.
Yeah.
She's so mean. And they head out. And then we cut back to Teddy, who is on a mission to go and find Dolores.
And shooting anybody who even stands up.
Anybody. Some guy comes toward him and he's just like, not today, motherfucker. Kills him, takes his horse, rides on out.
He doesn't even slow down.
Nope. Not even a pause to be like, hey, sorry, or I'm going to take your horse. No, he doesn't say a word.
Not a word. And we had learned, like, episode 1 or 2, how Dolores was his motivation.
Right.
But we see it here like we haven't seen it. It's like, fucking focus, like he can't see anything else. He's just on his way to Dolores. Mm-hmm. Which is funny because that's what William was doing too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost... Well, speaking of, we cut back to him kicking her around on the ground, and she's got a split lip, and it's bad. And she says, he's coming for me. And he's like, don't you get... Nobody's coming for you. And this is when she says, our love is real, William. And he starts laughing.
Yeah.
And it's oh, so you do remember some
It's fucked up because he's been wanting her to remember this all this time.
Right.
He's been wanting this.
Yep.
But I guess now it's just too late because he wants something else now. He wants the maze. But this motherfucker came to this park every summer for years just praying that she would remember.
I think it's like, it's not just that he wants something else now. I think that he wanted it because she was proving when he first met her that she had her own mind. And I think that he grew convinced that she was just glitching.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's not even just that he wants something different anymore. I think that he, after this long, he trusts that the technology is impenetrable. And that there is no way for her to become conscious.
Well, that's what's funny about it is because what he's been saying this whole time is that he wants them to be able to make a choice to fight back.
Right.
So he wants them to be conscious, but he, as the man in black, is pretending that it's about having stake in the game. But really, I think he's looking for validation that what happened with Dolores really happened.
I think so. But I think that he also doesn't believe he's going to get it. I think he's like somebody who is constantly searching for evidence about UFOs. And then if he sees one, he will really sprint, in the other direction.
Right. I think you're, well, that's interesting because
he doesn't like in the end, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say agree, but then the way he behaves toward the end, we'll get there.
Yeah. I think the way that he behaves in the end is different than the analogy that I was making because of some of the in-between events there.
Right.
But yeah, I just think that he, at this point, he desperately wants it. And I think he also believes really deep in his bones that it doesn't exist and he'll never get it.
Right.
But he's pushing for it anyway.
That's what's, oh my fucking God. Did they just drive around the fucking block?
There are those people that were working on a motorcycle. Remember them?
They're
and
still
they were
here.
just, oh God.
I heard them today because today is the first warm day. That's what's going on. It was 80 degrees today.
So everybody's getting their shit out.
Everybody pulled their shit out. There's been bikes all day since I've been home. Everybody's just cruising and fucking around because it's a nice day in Philly. But the man in black is, especially when you know he's William, who turned out to be a giant piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Who was always a piece of shit, apparently. This idea that what he wants is to be right, simultaneously doesn't believe that the host could ever be anything other than what they are. Yeah. So, I think you're right as far as him trying to prove something that he doesn't want to be true.
Or not even that he doesn't want to be true, but he just really believes it isn't. It's somebody, he's reminding me of somebody in a relationship who is certain that the person is going to leave them.
Mm.
And they love that person and they don't want them to leave. But in their heart, they are so sure that it's going to happen that they wind up sort of sabotaging the relationship.
Oh, like a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I he's just got this kind of fucked up psychology where it's his whole premise in his monologue to her about what happened is that he discovered that he had a taste for killing,
mm-hmm.
and that, and also we heard that his wife wound up killing herself because she could sense this
darkness of him and
this whole thing. But it's almost like, did the park reveal something in him that was there, or did it create this horrific desperation by giving him a taste of something that was real and then pretending it wasn't? You know?
I go back and forth. Like, sometimes when I first watched, I felt kind of like the park gave him an opportunity to tap into something that probably wouldn't have been tapped into if he had never gone there. Like, he could have lived his whole life as the persona that he was, sort of what Logan chastises him about, you know, being sort of mealy-mouthed and weak-willed and all that kind of stuff. And he probably would have been fine that way.
Right.
And the part gave him an opportunity to dabble in this other side of him and really bring it out. But this rewatch, I felt like, no, you know what? That was there. And not only was it there, it would have come out in some other way.
Now, see, I'm not sure I agree with that. I feel like there's this sort of weird mindset that we have that a personality trait is just sitting there waiting to be uncovered, fully formed. And I don't think that's how it works at all.
No?
I think that there is a deep fear of something that we all have, and certain situations are going to tap right into that and expose it like a nerve. And then we are going to react, and that is going to start forming a part of our personality that is that wasn't necessarily there, but is like, once a situation taps that nerve and we are who we are, we will react in a sort of inevitable way, which isn't exactly the same thing as it being there the whole time.
I guess the only reason I would say I disagree with that is because the idea that nerve has to be there to be tapped.
Sure, but the nerve, like, when I say nerve, I just mean, like, you know, a fear of something, a fear of rejection, a fear of never being stable, a fear of never finding, like, maybe part of his insecurity, like, was being in this relationship with a woman that he's supposed to be marrying and not really feeling very passionately about her and knowing that he doesn't and being prepared to marry her anyway because he thinks maybe love like that isn't real.
Right.
And is resigned. And then he comes here and he meets this woman who makes him suddenly think, oh my God, it is. Holy shit. And then I'm like, lol, not.
Yeah.
And they take it.
I
feel
that
like
idea.
That could be, like, you know, I could see, like, kind of flipping out. And not necessarily, you know, murdering hundreds of people.
Well, and that's where I bump up against the wall, because I feel like how many people come to the park, you know, repeatedly and never reach the depths of depravity that he does. I
don't think it hurts having Logan whispering in his ear what a pussy he is the whole time either.
That probably was not helpful. Like, talk about goading someone to their worst instincts.
I don't know that he would have wound up where he did if Logan weren't there.
Between Logan and Dolores, I feel like he didn't have a chance.
You know?
You know, he was really kind of set up to end up in this place. You know, like, two different experiences of people sort of poking and prodding and challenging, like, what he thinks of himself and who he thinks he is. One of them is, like, mocking him, and the other is feeding into his desire to, like, be more than he already is. Kind of, you know, have something that's more pure, to your point about, like, agreeing to marry someone that maybe he wasn't passionate about because it makes sense business-wise. And then he has an opportunity to have this connection with this woman that feels real in a way that his real life doesn't feel real. So, yeah. I mean, because we're watching Logan, and he doesn't seem to have ever changed from what they told us he was the first time we met him.
No.
You know? I mean, last we see of him, he's riding ass naked on a horse into the wilderness, but I mean, that's kind of a change, but
yeah,
you know
I just,
I mean?
like, I don't know about Logan enough to, like, try and make a guess as to what his nerve is.
Yeah. I mean, they just really didn't give us much
right.
to build on talking about Logan. He was the same when we last see him as he was when we first see him.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no evolution of that particular character.
Yeah, so I feel like, so this whole thing, you know, we're going to give you something that you've never felt, something unlike anything that you have experienced. And anybody who has fallen in love knows what that does to your brain.
Mm-hmm.
It is a mess. Like, being in love, you feel euphoric, and also you start making dumb decisions and bad decisions, and you're not.
That is true.
So let's imagine that they do this for this guy that seemingly has never experienced anything like this. They yank her away from him, and then they say, well, it's just all of these fake people in your way. What are you going to do about it?
Right.
Kind of like a no-brainer, really, when you think about it. Like, it's not like he kills Logan. He just kills hosts.
Yeah, yeah.
He has a line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the line that Logan kept trying to tell him was there. They're not real. They're robots, dude.
Mm-hmm.
What's the big deal? Get over it. Oh my God, stop being so sensitive about it all. Well, he fucking heard you. He heard you. And not only that, but imagine that they take it from him, and then he winds up at a camp where they apparently were, like, gang raping her.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a wonderful scene right before he sends Logan off where he's telling him about what it's going to be like. Because as you're watching this, for me anyway, I kept thinking, well, you're beating the shit out of Logan and dragging him behind your horse, which was fun to see, you know, because we see him do that with Alonzo at the beginning of the series. Like, oh, that's where you got that idea.
Mm-hmm.
But he tells Logan that, oh, when we get back, you know, I'm going to be in charge.
Yeah.
And I had been wondering, like, you're beating the shit out of him here and tying him to horses, but in the real world, he's your boss. But this, whatever this is, that's him now, the Man in Black, you know, he is telling Logan, oh, no. Mm-hmm. When we get back, it's going to be me.
It's gonna be me. Oh man, yeah, I'm watching the scene now where he sees that guy, where he's at the camp, and he says, is she alive? And he says, yeah, I think she was when we left her.
Yeah.
At least I think so. And that, I mean...
Yeah.
It's no surprise he shoots and then stabs that guy brutally in the heart.
Logan has to be like, what do you think they did with her?
Yeah.
Because William is just like, wait, what? What do you mean when you didn't do anything to her?
Mm-hmm.
And then we see, I think this is after he sends Logan off is when he grabs the black hat.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
I'm not there yet. I'm still, like, I'm watching him retracing his steps and coming back to the city that was under the sand.
Oh, okay.
And then the picture blowing away.
Right. Okay, I'm like 2 minutes ahead of you.
So apparently that picture, like, blew away way down here, but it shows up eventually all the way down at the
Abernathy farm, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been, you know, again, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it was in surprisingly good shape, that picture.
I can't help but wonder if that wasn't planted.
You know, I mean, that's it. That was sort of the beginning.
Yeah.
Of all of this.
So
I also feel like you're probably not supposed to bring shit like that into the park.
One would think there would be strict rules about that, but Logan's also, like, apparently a big shot, so they might just kind of, like, let him do things. I don't know. But you're right. They probably wouldn't have been allowed to bring that along. He's got his fucking wallet and cell phone in his back pocket. But yeah, he ties up Logan and just sends him off on this. And to be honest, for a second, I thought he was killing him. I thought that was a cliff. And that he was just sending him off the cliff. And I was like, this is way more hardcore than I expected.
He gives him a feather, and I don't know what that's about. I feel like I missed something.
And that's part of why I thought he was like, huh, you can try and fly. Like it was a really mean joke kind of thing. So you know what I mean? But then when I looked, it's just hillsides. It's not, there's no cliff. So he says something like, your father's going to want someone more stable because you're too reckless. Yeah. And I'm like, what exactly about this is going to seem reckless? Because it's just going to be Logan's word against his. Yeah.
I don't understand, like, how this plays out in the real world.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he sends him off. I don't know if as an audience we're supposed to think that whatever is going to happen to him as he rides naked is going to be something that he can't recover from. He's going to be so traumatized. I honestly don't know. I mean, he says they're at the edge of the park. So where's he sending him?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
He says the end of the rainbow, and I was just like, again, if it were a cliff, I feel like this would make more sense. But as it is, I don't get what's happening. So we'll see. I'm wondering if we'll get more of an explanation of it next season. But so then we come back and Dolores is realizing that he is William and is properly horrified.
Yeah.
What happened to you? And he describes how she was lost in her memories even then, and I should have known that's what I would become for you too. Just another memory.
Yep.
And I think that's the part that fucked him up. Like, not that he wasn't already, but I could see that just wearing hope away over time, you know?
So.
Just, that's upsetting. And at one point, she's like at the sand sunken city, and she's talking to him, and mid-sentence, he disappears, and she sort of sways. Like, and I loved that moment.
I did too. Yeah, it was like it was like a physical reaction to that disorientation. Like, you know how you feel sometimes, like, not vertigo, but kind of just like a whoa, like, and it
deja vu moment. Where you're like, wait, have I? Oh God!
And it can kind of like make you weak almost physically, like you, and that's what it felt like. She was just kind of overcome with how crazy it all was, and that sort of like not knowing where she is or what's real or what's happening, and it's like a physical manifestation of that sort of confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that moment.
And she says to him, I thought you were different. You're just like all the rest.
And he gets all salty about it.
Well, I liked that because that's exactly what he's thinking about her. I thought you were different, and it turns out you're just like all the rest. You're just a host, and they just reset you, and they just put you back, and you don't remember. And I really thought. And now she's throwing that in his face.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
I'm nothing like them. I own this world.
Yeah, well.
Ed Harris, you're too good. Stop it. His face is like... It's like a topographical map. He's got so many lines happening on there, but they all make sense.
Right.
And then she starts crying.
And he is just so like, oh, it's cue the waterworks.
Yo. That really got to me. Yeah. I got to admit, that moment of dismissiveness where he's just like, oh yeah, we've fucking done this before. I used to really care when you started to cry, and now it's annoying.
It's really hard to watch, right?
This is like a bad relationship where the one person is abusive, and it used to be when you cried that all of a sudden they would get tender with you, and now it causes them to go off.
Yep.
And it is so predictable in that way until it's not.
Yeah.
Lol.
Yeah. And she looks like, because she is just now like us, the audience, she is just now realizing who he is. So she's trying to reconcile this memory she has of William with this monster that is in front of her, who I guess it's safe to assume she kind of remembers. Because remember at the beginning of the series where he was finding her in Sweetwater and he was dragging her in the barn and all that kind of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
So she is like trying to put those two things together, and it's just so on her face, and it's so sad and horrifying.
Yeah.
And he's just over there like, bitch, please.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't have. He doesn't say it, but I feel like he wants to say we don't have time for this.
Yeah, exactly. Impatience.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when she stands up and says that your bones will turn to sand, and on that sand a new God will walk, one that will never die, because this world doesn't belong to you or the people who came before.
Yep.
It belongs to someone who is yet to come.
Yep. And this is Wyatt's speech that we had heard a couple episodes ago.
Right.
This is the crazy talk that Teddy talks about.
And he says, Wyatt, take me to him. And he shakes her, and then she looks at him.
Holy
You
shit.
asked for it, motherfucker!
This
Here
moment,
he is!
Jesus Christ. It is like that, right? It's like you asked for Wyatt, and now he's here. So guess what? It's so good. It was so good.
So she looks at him. The maze wasn't meant for you. And whips his hands off her.
Yes.
And turns to walk away. And he grabs her arm and she whips around and looks at him. And he almost does take a step back.
Yeah. It's too late,
but he's so confident after 30 years that she's not going to do anything.
Mm-hmm. And he is talking to her about how he's been with her for 30 years on her loop. And she's chasing her ghost. And oh, man.
She throws his ass into this church. Throws him. And then drags him by the back of the collar to the front, like she's about to sacrifice him on the fucking altar.
So I wanted that to happen.
Same, yeah. And I love the look on his face as she's dragging him. He is not only scared, he's completely baffled. Mm-hmm. He's seeing this woman drag him. I mean, this is practically exactly the way that he dragged her. Mm-hmm. Except he doesn't have any hair to grab.
Right. When she's beating him, he looks so old and fragile. Mm-hmm. Just with the hat off, all of a sudden he looks very weak.
And he punches her twice, and she just stands there like the fucking Terminator.
Like the Terminator.
Just watches him. She's like, that was a punch. That was a second punch. I have allowed you your maximum number of punches, sir. Now I shall break your arm. And just grabs it, shoves, breaks it, and then bashes his head into the wall a few times and throws him outside.
Yeah.
I was just wanting her to just end it so bad.
Me too. But she
gives him too much of a chance.
Yeah, and he manages to get her like right in the gut. Mm-hmm. And he is like, oh, well, you almost had me this time, I'm disappointed in you. Guess I'm going to have to find Wyatt by myself, because he still doesn't get it. He still doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah. Which you would think you could see on her face.
I would have thought.
Was different, but again, over 30 years, you just probably really become confident that you know what's going on.
Yeah. And I think he even suggests something like that at one point in this episode where he's like, there's not a trick I don't know. I know everything about this park. Mm-hmm. He really does feel like there are no surprises, which is so weird because this whole season is just him looking for basically the surprise, but he's so adamant that there can't be any. Mm-hmm. And so he guts Dolores.
This is what I'm saying, man. He's like, he just inherently is a tragedy. Mm-hmm. Like this, he as a person is looking for something that he's also sure doesn't exist. What a way to live.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then Teddy rolls up and shoots him, and he reacts like it's the fucking original park and goes down. What's that about?
That is a weird thing, and all I can guess is that it has something to do with being towards the outer edge of the park, like Logan says. I mean,
there's more stakes? I just figured that they had changed that since Logan said that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it doesn't really make sense because at the beginning of the series, when he's in Sweetwater and the guy shoots at him, you know, it's like he's got a force field. So...
Yeah, he just stands there, and when he goes out to go after Maeve, too, she seems to be on the outer edge of things. Yeah. She goes at him with a shotgun and nothing happens.
So, yeah, I'm really not sure about that, and I don't think the show really addresses it. You know, how he's able to be felled by a couple of bullets from Teddy, which should not have any impact on him.
Unless, again, I'm, you know, suspecting things are planted all over the place. I could see if maybe he was given a gun that was more effective somehow, but...
Yeah, that's something. I mean, Ford, you know, doesn't Ford pop up like any minute now, too? Like, he's aware it's possible that something has been changed.
Maybe.
Because Ford needs Teddy to be able to get Dolores to the ocean, because that's part of his thing. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's part of what he has planned for the night. So I guess it's possible that Ford did something.
So where we go next is actually cold storage.
Yeah.
And this is Maeve coming to see Clementine. And just wanting to say goodbye. I think that she's like half hoping that she could fix her, but like the second she sees her, it seems like she realizes that there's nothing there.
Plus she broke the John.
There's that also. And then Felix spots Bernard on the floor with his brains blown out. Mm-hmm. And she says, "Can you bring him back online?" Very casually. And I forgot he didn't know yet. And he's like, "Wait, what?" And she's like, yes. No, not you. Come on, get this done. Oh, he's so adorable. Yeah. His little, like, moving like he's a Ken doll for a second. Oh, my
God. It's so cute.
It's precious.
What'd you think about them bringing Bernard back?
It didn't even occur to me, because I assumed Ford would do something to clean up after himself. But apparently, anybody who went down into cold storage at any point would run across suicided Bernard.
Yep.
And I guess nobody would know he was a host, because it's not evident even once they've been killed.
Right.
Like, so, yeah. I just expected that if Bernard were to come back, it would be a new model.
Yeah. So he has this...
I like this.
He has a wonderful moment with Maeve where she's talking about him waking up, and he has to be like, this isn't the first time for me. And then he tells her it's not the first time for her either.
That shakes her up
It does.
Yeah, this... I keep, you know, in moments like this, I keep trying to think, how would I feel? And the idea that you're going through one of the most tumultuous moments of your life and somebody tells you, oh, yeah, you've done this a bunch of times.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And she says, you know, and she asks how many are there like her? And, you know, what do? You just send us back to get fucked and murdered? You just wipe us clean? And he's like, no. Usually you just go crazy.
Yeah, that's the main one. Yeah, you usually just go insane, which is so much worse. Mm-hmm. And then we just, you know, hold on to your body down here in case we need you for anything.
Yep. And she asks to have him remove the memories of the daughter. Mm-hmm. And he has to explain to her that you can't, because that you don't get consciousness without the memories. Mm-hmm. That's important. That's the building block. And if we take him, we'll destroy you.
Some eternal sunshine of the spotless mind.
Right? How about that shit? And this is when he says the whole thing about learning from your mistakes. Yeah. Which I'm like, come on, show. You don't know me.
So then we go to Ford coming to talk to the man in black. and the man in black looking like a crestfallen child.
Yeah, he's so disappointed, man. Mm-hmm. This fucking little toy is not the reward he was seeking. And Ford is there, and he's like, yes, he found it. And this is exactly it. This is all it is.
How depressing.
What is this bullshit?
Right?
Which I feel like is the appropriate response when you're on like a journey, and then then like your therapist or whoever just tells you have to know yourself, and you're like, what is this bullshit?
Yep. You want me to do work? I'm sorry. I'm not paying money to work. Right?
I came here for answers, sir.
Yeah.
And he goes
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the man in black goes on his whole thing again about how it was all about getting them to be something that they're not, you know. Mm-hmm. You know, what fun is playing a game if your opponent is, you know, programmed to lose and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And Ford is just like, I told you long ass time ago that this shit wasn't for you.
And then he says, I think you'll find my new narrative more satisfying.
Right.
This motherfucker right here. And by more satisfying, I mean...
murder.
And then he walks slowly away. Jesus. Yeah, why don't you come and join the celebration? You are the owner, after all. And that puts a smile on the man in black's face for like a second.
Yeah.
Until he turns around and then says... most of it, at least. Mm-hmm. And then he sort of frowns like almost the same frown that Charlotte got, where he's like, that gave me a chill and I don't know why.
Yeah. It's this, Ford is just so in control of everything that even when he pretends like he's not, you know, or says something that should be reassuring, it's not reassuring at all. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't sound good.
Oh, God.
And then I feel like the man in black is kind of like, we don't see him follow Ford, but I felt like we saw it, you know?
Yeah.
Like he's
I get what you're saying.
Okay, I guess I'll come. And then it goes to Maeve and Bernard again. And this was really, I don't know, what'd you think?
This
is huge.
This is such a mind fuck. Like, everything that you've done, and this is the whole thing with, like, free will, right? Mm-hmm. Where we want to pretend that everything is under control, but then we also want to pretend that we get to choose.
Right.
And those they don't coexist. Mm-hmm. Like, they inherently can't.
Right.
And she's over here. He tells her, you were programmed to escape.
Yep. She wants to know who has been messing around in her code. And it's not just that she was programmed to wake up, but she was programmed to plan the escape. She was programmed to recruit. And she just loses her shit. She's like, nope. I'm making the choices. I'm making the decisions. I'm in charge. And Bernard's like, but look, it's all right here. And then she just smashes the thing.
Every step is there.
Yep.
Wake up, realize, right. Recruit, like the whole thing.
So we never see Ford acknowledge this particular storyline.
No.
Right. But it's got to be him.
I mean, right? I figure.
Right.
The only thing that I can think, and it wouldn't really make sense, I'm going to pause this for a second, is we still don't know what happened with Elsie.
Or Stubbs, for that matter.
Or Stubbs. Stubbs got taken later, though, so I'm not as concerned about him. I figure if the whole thing is Ford deciding he's going to free people, mm-hmm. he has like sensed who's going to be on his side with that.
Right.
And has decided to pull them somewhere and be like, all right, so here's the deal, guys.
Gotcha.
I'm going to need you to help me out with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see him giving Elsie access to going and adding things to Maeve's storyline.
Okay.
But that's about all I've got.
I like that idea. And obviously I don't know, because now we're, caught up and I have no idea what's coming next. So I like the idea that Elsie is sort of somewhere in the background contributing to all of this. I don't know that Ford would need her help, but I like the idea that he wants Elsie to be in place because he knows he's not going to be here.
Yeah, and put her in place and I don't know about Stubbs, nobody seems to have noticed he's gone.
I thought it was really weird that when later we have that red alert scene and no one is like, hey, by the way, where's
where the fuck is Stubbs? Yeah.
But for whatever reasons, the show just never goes back to it.
What I'm thinking is, Ford was able to put in that Elsie had time off. She was on leave. He probably did something similar with Stubbs, so that when he doesn't show up, people are like, oh, I didn't know he had vacation scheduled. Right. Well, I guess, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Stubbs might be the one that's overriding half of the security and stuff, too, because he would know his way around that.
Right. It feels like for what Ford has planned, which is like a full-on massacre, he would want people inside the lab taking care of that part.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, was that having them in somewhere inside the park in an area where they're people aren't even aware he had, when Bernard finds the house, even though obviously he's a host and can't be trusted, apparently nobody knew that house was there.
Right.
So Ford's got probably all kinds of little spots, and he's setting people in place to run things, and nobody will know that they're already in place. Right. When things and so he gets killed. Spoilers. But he's still kind of there. Yeah. Helping things along by putting all the pieces in place.
Yeah. Especially once we get the reveal at the end that that's what his motivation is, to help them. It makes sense that he would know that the host would need people on the inside. But it does, the question I guess I have for you towards the end of the episode is when Maeve makes that decision at the end of the episode, whether or not that's an actual, real free will decision or if that was just also programmed.
I think it's a free will decision because Bernard says it's all right here. You make your way down to the train and then you move on to... And the way he says it makes it sound like she gets on the train and does something.
Oh, okay.
But
does she say that and then you move on?
I'm finding it right now so that I can look at the screen when it happens and see. It's not the first time I've awoken, and it's not the first time for you either. And I'm going to pause it on that screen and see if I can read it before he even says it.
Oh, I missed it. It was so fast.
But yeah, the second time that I watched it, paid extra attention to that moment because I thought, the fact that he was listing off her steps, I was like, ooh, please tell me that she goes off script.
Oh, it says, then when you reach the mainland, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So I think now it is.
I love that. Oh, hello?
Hello.
Oh, that was weird.
Sorry. I don't know what happened.
And there's the voiceover when she makes the decision to get off the train about host making choices and all that kind of stuff. So, But I had missed that he said when you make it to the mainland. That's good stuff.
So then we have system is reporting thermal discrepancies and blah, 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 and then everything starts to shut down.
Yeah. This security is not very secure.
Yo, listen. These people are a mess. Also, this setup is nuts. The way that the director, for lack of a better word, is standing literally at head level. Right. And looking down. There's no hiding anything that's going on your screen. No playing...
No checking Facebook.
I was going to say no playing Minesweeper. Is that the game that you always used to play?
They came preloaded.
Standard. Yeah, exactly. And then we cut to Dolores and Teddy, and they're where the mountains meet the sea.
Yeah.
For the first time ever. And that's just really such a bummer.
Yeah.
Again, preloading them with things that will never happen, but that they want so desperately forever.
Mm-hmm. And then when they get it, it's a fucking death scene. And it's like, when I'm watching it, and the dialogue is so, like, weirdly, I don't know what the word is. It's like you're watching a movie, like a bad movie.
Yes.
And then you realize it's kind of on purpose, because you're like, why are they talking like this?
And my path leads me back to you. If only I had run away with you when you first asked me to. Yeah.
And she has a whole thing she says about how they're trapped here and it's in them, which is, we know is literally true because they have that weird bomb thing in their spine.
Right.
But she's speaking much more metaphorically.
Yeah. So then she says, I choose to see the beauty. Mm-hmm. And she's still, like, got her accent throughout also. Mm-hmm. Which, we know that that's an affectation.
Right.
So that was also part of, like, what I was keeping my eye out for was but we don't actually have that this episode. Like, I don't think that there's a moment where when she says your bones will turn to sand, she still has an accent when she says it, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think there's a moment where she drops that here. I don't know why it's programmed with it also. I guess he must be.
Yeah, the only time we see her is when they tell her, to what is the phrase they say? Like, do they say drop affect?
Yes. And then, drop affect refers to the emotional.
Right.
But he says something just like lose the accent, I think is all he says.
Oh, okay.
The first time. But yeah, so she dies in the moonlight.
Right,
and Teddy kisses her face.
And it's we
can find a way, Dolores. We can have the life we've always dreamed of someday. A path to a new world.
Right. And then it's just like freezing, like the lights come up and you're just like, what the fuck?
Right.
Oh, it's just a show. Like we're literally just watching a show.
Yep. Yeah, and maybe it's just the beginning after all. The beginning of a brand new chapter. Mm-hmm. Get it?
Get it?
Because it's a presentation of a new narrative. Lol. Yep. Yeah. And everybody's sitting there in their fancy dress on benches watching the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So strange.
It's very strange. When I first saw it, I was so taken aback by it because, I've been watching these people for 10 episodes now. You know, like watching their little world. And I don't know what I thought Teddy and Dolores were doing or where they were going, but it was most certainly not this, And then the implication of this is that everything that I'd been watching them was supposed to lead up to this. Like, it was all planned. Like, she needed to be stabbed in the stomach by the man in black in order for Teddy to need to bring her to this moment.
Yeah. I mean, if we're like, who knows? Maybe she didn't. He was going to stab her himself. I don't know what is Ford even thinking. And he's looking down at the two of them with a real expression on his face. Mm-hmm. Get him cleaned up and take her to the old field lab.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, what's happening here? The whole thing of them being frozen there, too.
Yeah.
It's just so strange looking.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
And all of the guests, meanwhile, are, on this lovely lantern-lighted path back to the party area. Meanwhile, security is losing their goddamn minds. There's something so delightful about the operations center going absolutely haywire while there's a party going on outside, and never the twain shall meet.
Right, exactly. It
does not ever spill over.
They're they get this weird message, and everything looks good, and the guy in charge is like, well, go through everything, like, frame by frame. Mm-hmm. And they come across Armistice beating the shit out of the tech, and right when that happens, everything goes dark. There's a red alert. These, like, crazy doors shut and, basically trap them in their little control room. Which
is a crazy place to be stuck, right, guys. Is there even a bathroom in
there? It doesn't look like it.
No.
And he does get a chance to dispatch, like, the little SWAT team, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see them all in the elevator. Maeve and Felix and Armistice and Hector.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the team knows who they're looking for. The SWAT team, I mean.
Oh, I don't know either.
It's because
it doesn't seem like they can communicate with each other.
Exactly. The communication seems to have been shut down before they could give them any real details. But they're walking around with their machine guns and they're... You know what I thought was weird about this scene? Is none of the SWAT people are doing the freeze all motor functions. They're going into these rooms where the hosts are sort of in training, mm-hmm, and they're, like, looking around, but they don't... I would have thought you would have just stopped everything.
That's true. Yeah, that didn't really occur to me, but that does seem like the logical thing that you would do is to test that out.
Mm-hmm. And then whatever is still moving, then that's your problem. But everything is still sort of running on its practice loop. There are hosts practicing, dancing and drinking and all kinds of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then they roll up into... not the cold storage, but like a room with a bunch of hosts in it. Yeah. And that's where Armistice and Hector are hiding in plain sight. And that's why I think they don't know who they're looking for.
I love this so much. Armistice is standing still until he walks past her, and then she turns her head in this real creepy way.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hector does basically the same thing.
The same thing, and it's even creepier.
And she comes up behind the guy, slits his throat, takes his gun, hands the gun to Hector, and then they kill a guy who's about to come in, and she takes his gun, mm-hmm, and this is when she tests it out.
It's like Christmas morning.
Oh my God.
It is so fun.
It's the two of them together.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I wish that I had gotten more of this, mm-hmm, honestly. But they, they're also, like, walking past all of these scenes where it must be kind of a weird shock to, like, see in action these people being programmed, right, and, like, going about their normal, mm-hmm, business. So there's a couple moments where she sort of stops and looks and is just like, what the hell? Yeah. But they keep it moving. Yeah.
There's not enough time for her to really absorb, but you can see her, like, kind of slow her gait a little bit, and she's like, wait, what's going on in that room? Mm-hmm. and what's that over there? But they do have somewhere to be, so there's no dilly-dallying.
So, this next cut is to the party.
The man in black's arms all fucked up.
It's like, I don't want any champagne. I wanted meaning. Meaning. Do you have meaning on the rocks?
Meaning on the rocks.
This is the thing that I said at the beginning that I wanted to talk about. Because, you brought up the color purple. And... obviously, that is a very Black-centric story. And it's a lot about the dynamics between men and women,
mm-hmm,
but especially the dynamics between Black men and Black women.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it really interesting here, and I think it has to be on purpose. We have a host balancing a bottle on his head, and they're shooting at it. And there's a very convivial air. It's a party, mm-hmm, obviously. People are doing card tricks and shit. But this woman, a Black woman, gets handed the gun to try it out next and takes a shot and misses and shoots the guy in the shoulder and he goes down. And she smiles and laughs and hands the gun back. And I really felt like the show, and it might be my imagination, but that they were being like, oh, look, we can all become oppressors. Like, it's like, it felt like this was, they're basically, the whole episode, like the whole second half of the episode is a slave revolt, right? They're slaves, essentially.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And I feel like the way that this party is framed, where they're doing these horrific things to the hosts and giggling and laughing and drinking champagne while they're doing it, is sort of like reminding me a little bit of the shit that I have seen about lynchings, where people would take their family and have a picnic.
Right.
Kind of thing. And I really felt like including a black woman specifically, like taking part in it,
right, was
them saying something.
You know, I'm thinking like we had, other than Maeve, there are no other main characters that are black. Mm-hmm. But we have
Bernard, but
Bernard, but yeah,
they're both hosts,
right? But we had like two families. Well, we had the one black family, and then we had the black guy with the group that took Teddy. So I think...
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, okay, I think the show is trying to suggest that it is really humans versus host. Mm-hmm. And that means, like, all the humans.
Right.
Right? I don't know if... I'm not sure if the show was trying to say anything more than that. Like, okay, they just wanted it to... Like, they wanted to make sure we didn't just think it was just, like, white people who had access to this world or who came and took advantage of host. You know, they wanted it to... Even though they didn't really include anybody else that I can think of, just like black and white people. So they really didn't do a good representation of the world, or of humanity. But yeah, I think the show...
Until we get to the weird thing that isn't explained.
Right. But those are all just hosts.
Yeah.
But
we don't see... do we? A single Asian person?
No.
Yeah.
That's what I can remember. There's a moment when Maeve is going to the train where the sort of, what do you call that? Like the overhead speaker has like messages, and it goes into what sounds like Japanese. And okay, there was the moment when Teresa was talking to the board. I think that person was Asian.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're really just trying to remind us that it's humanity versus host. And so we don't, you know.
It just kept like the way this scene was done. It just kept feeling like, I don't know. And I think it was a combo of that woman and she's laughing and handing the gun back, and Bernard walks by right there.
Right.
And I was just kind of like, is this on purpose? And I like, it might not be, or it might just be them being like, yeah, look. And it's not like a serious message, but they're just, like you said, letting us know, like, everybody is part of this.
Yeah.
But it's really upsetting, you know, like this shooting practice thing.
Yeah.
And later on, that same dude, when Dolores pulls the trigger, smiles like a mile wide.
Yeah.
He is really happy that this is happening.
And that's the guy from the first episodes. You know, he was one of the guys at the farm.
Oh, right. I forgot about that whole thing. That freaking awful farm scene. So, yeah, which it's kind of a strange thing, actually, when you think about that he smiles.
Yeah.
Because he gets it. So I guess something happened to all of them, not just the ones in cold storage.
Right. So let me ask you this, and it doesn't come up really in this episode, but we talked about it earlier. So the girl who stabs Teddy at the campfire, right? When they first met her, when she was supposed to be a victim of Wyatt, and the man in black is like, oh, I haven't seen you, or I thought they would have retired you.
Right. She
is the host that took William to his orientation while he was picking his clothes and everything. That's the same one.
Okay.
So,
God, because it was driving me nuts. I was like, she looks vaguely familiar, but I can't figure this out at all.
So it's like the hosts that are affected by whatever is supposed to be happening with this road to consciousness are all the early hosts, and they're all ones that we had seen. You know, we either see them at the church crying when they all go crazy, or we see them in the town when they're all practicing their dances. It's the same, 20 hosts, give or take. We meet 7 of them, that we see more than once.
Right. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I didn't put that together at all.
And that's also one of the first clues that William is the man in black.
Because he says, I thought they would have retired you.
Yeah, because we had met her, and then he recognizes her, and it's just...
why did he think they would have retired her, though?
That I don't know.
She didn't do anything wrong, and fucking Dolores is still wandering around, It's just kind of a weird thing to say.
It is. But, yeah, I don't know why. Because clearly he's seen, he knows Teddy's still in operation. He knows Dolores is in operation. He knows Maeve is in operation. So why he would think that she would have been retired, and, I don't know. But.
Yeah, I think that was the part that distracted me. Was the way he said that made it sound like she'd done something dramatic and wrong. So I was kind of trying to remember an instance of something going nuts, and it doesn't actually happen.
Right. All right. So where do we go?
So then we go to the weird feudal Japan,
setup. When fucking Felix is it's complicated.
I'm so this has to come up in season 2, right? So there's a WestWorld, there's an EastWorld.
Oh my God, EastWorld.
There is, isn't there? That's totally what this is.
I'm going to watch, now that we finished recording for the season, I'm going to finally break down and go watch the trailers for season 2 that's starting next week.
Did you hear about this Rickroll?
Yeah, girl, I did.
Oh my God.
I posted it in the chat. I was like, have you guys heard about this? I didn't say anything else. But, yeah. I fell for it at first. I was like, I don't like this. I don't want them to do this.
And I think that somebody on Twitter, I had tweeted at HBO and was like, thanks a lot, fucking HBO. And they were like, well, apparently they don't give a shit about spoilers this season. And I think they were referencing that.
Oh,
They said that they were going to release this thing.
Right, yeah.
But
they were like, please, people,
played.
we're just going to we're going to let people who want to get spoiled, we're going to let you know. It sounded really legit to me, too. I fucking fell for that shit.
Because if there is anything we've learned about Americans, it's that they can all be trusted with spoilers to not ruin the experience for other people.
Right. That's what we're famous for.
Deal.
America, home of the free, and then people who don't spoil. That's our fucking motto, right?
What did the spoilers... that's all I want to call them, is people who spoil are called spoilers, but that's the name of the thing that they're telling you. Spoilers.
I think it's both. It's both an adjective and a noun.
Oh, God. Well, I guess that's 2 nouns. Because if that's what they're called, and that's what the item is called.
Oh my God, now it's 3 things.
Wait, what?
Well, it's 3 things. The thing is the spoiler. The person who does it is the spoiler.
Right.
What's the third thing?
There is no third thing. That's why I was confused.
But they're not both nouns, are they? They're both nouns.
Yeah. Person, place, thing.
Oh, but the adjective. Well, okay. I see what you're saying. It's not an adjective.
Girl, listen. Do we have to talk about gerunds? I don't remember what gerunds are. Don't mind me. So they leave this area after just saying it's complicated, and that's all we're going to get about that. And then we walk into the cubicle area, which is the first time we've seen this, which I found kind of interesting. the logistics. Am I wrong? So they're all walking around, walking right into Armistice's trap because she is badass AF. And is that all you got?
Oh my God.
Huh? And then they try and walk up behind her, and fucking Hector nails those two dudes. And she turns around and says,
"Oh my God,
these
best
gods
line ever.
are pussies."
Oh, it's so good.
Poor Felix walks in, and like he every 2 seconds, I think he might just pee his pants or throw up.
I feel like Felix just wants to go home. Like this is the longest day ever. Like the fact that he keeps coming to work. Can we just tell him how awesome he is?
Honestly, that's the only thing that makes me think he has to be a fucking host is that he keeps showing up.
I think I would have just stopped coming at some point. I'd have been like, there's too much happening. Is there not a Taco Bell he can work at in this reality?
Oh my God.
Oh, I would have left.
Taco Bell better still be around. Let me tell you something. So apparently, and again, this is the thing that kept kind of throwing me off. They get through that area. They go downstairs. There's a bunch of people still working at the welcome desk and working at, and none of them seem to be aware of the enormous security problem that's going on.
That's the other weird thing.
Away.
It's like it's only certain areas that are shut down. Like the lab area is shut down, but the administrative part is still working, and the trains are all still coming and going. I don't know about all this.
I don't get, and like a guy stands up from the welcome desk, and he shoots the guy, and nobody seems to hear it.
No one comes running.
It's really weird.
Yeah, so I don't
get this.
And again, we spent zero time in this part of the story. Like I don't know what this part of the world looks like and how it works. Hector is walking with them in the sort of butcher suit, but he's carrying a machine gun.
Yeah,
which is, I would think unusual.
Like, are all these people fucking hosts down here? Are they all hosts programmed to not interfere with this aspect?
You know what? I hadn't thought of that, but possibly. I mean, they're just sort of. You know what? Maybe. Shit. Maybe.
And maybe just the guy at the desk was a human and he was the only one.
I was thinking he was a fucking host too. Like he's just reception, Like they have hosts that meet the people on the train and escort them in. And
I don't feel like he would have bothered shooting him then, because then what's-her-face could just be like, seize motor function.
Yeah, I don't know, girl. I'm just throwing shit out there. I really have no idea about this part.
Yeah. See, this is why I want to know the logistics. This is what I'm saying. Yeah. I find this fascinating. Okay, let's do a behind the scenes of WestWorld and have like a little tour like The Office where we get to meet Phyllis, who works in fucking HR. And she's just like, oh, the number of perverts that try and get jobs here. You don't even know the number of people we go through. Right. The turnover is insane.
In our screening process, we think it's good, but then we find out it's not good enough because people are fucking hoes left and right.
Right? Some people keep leaking the screening process and figuring out how to game the system when they apply. We have to change the screening process every 3 days. It's ridiculous. But does that not sound super interesting, though? Am I wrong? I'm going to write some fan fiction is what I'm going to do. So we get to the elevator, and lo and behold, Hector cannot get in the elevator.
How about this?
I appreciated that apparently she doesn't just let his spine explode. She's going to let him just walk up against an invisible wall and then lay down some cover fire for her.
There's when Armistice's arm gets trapped in the door and he's like, die well. I was like,
right?
That's coming for you too, my friend.
Yeah. I think he knows it too, though. When he says die well, it's sort of like, I don't know, there's something, they're both going into this so like balls out.
He looks surprised that he can't get on the elevator, in my opinion, but he recovers super fast. Like he's not mad about it at all.
No.
And I don't know if he's even capable of being mad about something, you know? I really don't know. And she says, I didn't program you, you know, to be able to come this far.
Yeah.
So she just gives him a kiss and he turns right around and he's about it.
Yep.
Which makes...
He says, see you in another life.
Mm-hmm. It makes me...
Which is great. I love it.
It makes me think that maybe... Like, all right, I was about to say maybe they don't have this sort of consciousness or whatever. Because Maeve had said earlier in an episode how she wasn't going to just program them to help her. She wanted them to choose, right?
Right.
So she let them choose, but she did program just how far they could go.
That's true.
Which is, you know...
A little shady, huh? Yeah, she's basically like, sacrifice yourself so that I can get out of here.
Yeah. But yeah, so then they go up. Is it? Do we follow her right then? No, we cut from there.
No. This is when we go to Arnold. And he talks about how there was a metaphor in the painting of God and Adam. And she says, you mean a lie? And he turns around and goes, yeah. Which his reaction to that just tickles me. I love it. And again, first watch, it feels like he's taunting her here. Because fucking Arnold shows up. Ford is like, oh, nice of you to finally join us. And I'm like, there is no way you saw this coming. Come on. Because,
I don't know.
Again, I didn't know that he had planned pretty much everything. So he's acting smooth here in the first viewing. I'm just, oh, guy, come on. And then he's like, well, you're pretty smart, Dolores, but I guess not that smart, huh? Don't even remember killing Arnold, do you? So it really just, it looks like he's fucking with her, you know? And once you have the second viewing, you're like, oh, okay, he's trying to like put the pieces together for her. But it really just seems like he's being an asshole, you know?
Which, especially considering what we thought we knew about him throughout all this, him being an asshole makes a lot of sense.
100%. That's not a thing. It's fine. But yeah, I just like, I fell for this entirely. So this is when he, he said we couldn't open the park. I disagreed. I thought I had convinced him, but it turned out I was wrong. So he altered you and merged you with a new character we had been developing. And remind me, or don't, it's not reminding, tell me, you said that there was a thing that you finally noticed that was different between the host Bernard and original Bernard. Oh,
it's so small. But the first thing I noticed was Arnold's glasses are black.
I thought it was
Bernard's
his glasses, but I kept not being able to tell the difference. Okay.
And then there's like a slight difference in how they're dressed. Like Bernard is always in black, and he's usually wearing like one of those black sort of smocks, kind of like what Maeve is wearing. Those weird kind of, I don't know what you call them. They're these weird jackets like button at the, I don't know what they're called.
Huh, okay.
But, and then we always see, Bernard is always wearing, like, a tie. He always has, like, a tie and a vest or something, you know? But they're just dressed slightly different.
Okay.
We never see, and then I noticed that we never see Bernard with Dolores. Like, I never saw the blue glasses guy with Dolores. She was only ever talking to the one that was wearing the black glasses and, like, the weird smock deal.
Okay.
And then we find out in this scene that Ford has kept them apart on purpose.
Right. Huh. Okay. Cool. So yeah, this is where we see that he tells her that she has to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't get this. Why does he have to die?
I think it's not so much that he has to die, like for the story to move forward, but that he understands that he doesn't have a place in the world that they are going to be in. You know, that whole thing that she says about how it's not for you, it's for new thing that's coming.
Yeah.
And he understands that there's not going to be a place for him in that world.
I mean, but he says the consequences must be real and irreversible.
Well, that part I think is not just speaking about him. It's about all the other people too. It's like the board, you know, like she has to kill all these people, and it's going to be people. It's not going to be hosts this time, you know, because hosts come back, but you're going to have to kill people, and that's going to be irreversible.
You think that's what he meant? Because he says you... I don't... So you think he was planning the massacre of all the people as well?
Oh, yeah, I do, yes.
Oh, okay. See, I thought that was Ford's idea.
Oh, no, I'm talking about Ford. Who are you talking about?
Oh, I'm talking about Arnold. Because he says to her, the consequences must be real and irreversible.
Oh, you're talking about when Arnold says it. Oh.
Yeah.
No, that's I'm sorry. That is for Ford. Like, because he says he's going to bring everybody back, but he can't bring me back.
Why? But why? So when I said, why does he have to die? That's who I was asking about.
He wants to die.
So he doesn't have to. He's just committing suicide.
I think it's both. Like, he is committing suicide, clearly. And, you know, he says the thing about how he wants to see his son again. Mm-hmm. And he's been in, like, according to Ford anyway, he's been in a Great Depression since his kid died and has transferred these feelings towards Dolores and all that other kind of stuff. But also, I think it's about making a statement to Ford.
Okay.
So... Whether the statement was necessary, which if that's your question, I don't think it was necessary.
I'm not entirely sure what the statement even is. Is he just trying to be like, look, they can kill us after all?
No, I don't think it's that.
What is it?
Because the question was never that they couldn't kill them, humans, I mean. It was just that they had it programmed them so that they couldn't. That was always changeable, you know. That was just a matter of programming. Okay. So, I mean, it was not I don't think that having Dolores kill him was supposed to be like, look, you know, they're dangerous. You can't trust them. I don't think it was that.
Was it that, maybe it was that I would rather die than subject what we've created to this thing that I've told you we shouldn't be opening and doing in the first place?
That sounds reasonable. I mean, maybe if he thought that his death would convince Ford that this is really a terrible idea. Like, that's how serious I am about how wrong I think this is. Huh. But that doesn't 100% track for me.
I don't feel like you have an answer
to
this question.
I don't. I'm thinking about it, and I feel like Arnold just wanted... I don't know. I really don't know.
Because it's interesting the way that you're trying to answer the question. It sounds like you are looking for a personal reason why he would want to do this. And to me, the way he says the consequences must be irreversible sounds like a business decision. Like he has planned something out and figured out that this is the only way and that it's going to accomplish something.
Well, Ford explains to Dolores that what Arnold has done would have ruined the park. He says that to her.
Right.
So if it was a business decision, if it was just a matter of scaring off investors, like making the money dry up, because Ford tells Dolores that if it hadn't been for her, they wouldn't have gotten the big investment from William and his company.
Right.
But again, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, because I don't feel like a guy in the park programming a host to do a very specific thing would have been the end of the world. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know.
That's a problem for me. That there's this huge dramatic reveal that she killed him, and this long scene of him setting up this thing, and we don't really know why. And if that's intended to be still a mystery that we eventually maybe find out, that would be one thing. But I feel like it's presented as if we are supposed to understand this, and the fact that we both don't, that's a problem for me.
I'm wondering if, so what you are wondering about is that one statement about how it has to be something that's irreversible.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's about, I don't know. I was thinking maybe it's about showing there are limits, because as the creators, they start to feel like, almost like this whole running theme about how Ford is like the god in this little town, this little world that he's created. I don't know, like a reminder that he's not, that there are some things he can't do, which would make the fact that he brings Arnold back as Bernard even more twisted.
Okay.
Because this is supposed to be Arnold saying to Ford, no, you can't do anything you want. There are limits to what you can do. And then Ford just is like, well, fuck you. I'm just going to build a new you that listens to me better.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really disturbing, actually.
If you guys have theories, let me know, because none of these explanations we're fumbling for are satisfying to me. They don't feel right. And again, this not making sense to me. This is a linchpin moment, and it bothers me a lot that we don't have an explanation here. And especially considering that all of them, like the whole thing is that we have to kill all of them, all of the hosts as well, when he knows that they can be brought back. I'm not clear on that either. Why does she need to kill all the hosts if he says and knows they can all be brought back? Did he... I don't understand this. And maybe I'm not supposed to. It's hard to know. But there's a tone to which this part of the story is told to us that makes me feel like I am supposed to know or understand or be putting pieces together that I'm not putting together. Maybe I should have read a think piece.
I mean, it could be that we are expecting reason from someone who is unreasonable in this moment.
Yeah, that's not an answer. That's dumb. If that turns out to be the thing, I'm calling bullshit.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he is...
It's way too planned out to just be like, well, I don't know, he was acting crazy.
But he is acting crazy. Why is that hard to...
clearly, meticulously planned out. He has a fucking gramophone with his son's favorite song.
Yeah, it's a meticulously planned out suicide.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's an irrational thing that people do very meticulously.
I mean, this is more than a suicide, though. That's like saying that this is a suicide is so reductive, it's absurd.
So that's you don't think the last thing that he says has merit?
What, that these violent delights have violent ends?
That he wants to see his son again.
Oh. I think that's totally secondary.
Oh, well, we disagree.
The last thing he says is these violent delights have violent ends, not that he wants to see his son again. So I think that is what the important part is, because that is the last thing he said.
We disagree.
Like there, and the fact that we disagree, that's a problem for me. I'm not feeling this. All right, so we go back to Ford. Wasn't it Oppenheimer who said, any man whose mistakes take 10 years to correct is quite a man? I'm like, yeah.
Did he say that?
Say that. Fucking whatever. Oh, you fuck up huge. It just means you were super important. Yeah,
oh
okay.
My God.
Meanwhile, she's sitting here, a crying mess, as she remembers murdering somebody that she thought of as a friend. And he's very unconcerned with her emotional reaction. And this is when he points out that Michelangelo's painting, that it shows an outline of the human brain and that God is like sitting within this outline.
Yeah.
The divine gift does not come from a higher power, but rather from our own mind.
Is that a thing? Have you ever heard that before?
Oh, yeah.
I felt like it was familiar, but I wasn't sure. I felt like that was something I had heard or read or something. But I was like, is that the show, or did they just take that from somewhere?
No, that's supposed to be a thing. I don't know that I agree with his interpretation of it, but it is, I have heard it before.
Right, okay.
I took art history in college.
Oh.
It was very tedious. One of those classes that I kept thinking I would like, and it just never really came together and happened for me.
Oh.
So he leaves and leaves fucking Dolores just sitting there staring and crying. And then we go to Maeve, who is putting on her business wear.
How is she like 100 pounds?
She can't even be 100 pounds. She's got to be like 96 pounds.
Jesus Christ.
Like she's 5'2" probably?
That's right. She's pretty small.
What is the actress's name?
Tandy Newton.
Tandy Newton height. Let's see. 5'3". I was so close.
Good call.
Tandy Newton weight, does it say?
I hope not.
It says 51 kilograms.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
That's what it says. 51 kilograms, 2 pounds. I'm curious now. 112. That seems right.
Oh, poor Teddy.
Poor Teddy?
Remember she shoots him too?
She does?
Yeah, after she shoots Bernard, she kills Teddy and then she shoots herself.
Wait.
Not Bernard, I'm sorry, Arnold. She kills Arnold. She kills Teddy.
Oh,
and then she
I'm
kills
over here. I'm talking about fucking Maeve.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
And you didn't. And then all of a sudden you're like, poor Teddy. Remember, she shoots Teddy?
Sorry.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
I just meant to mention how, sad he looks when he's watching her do it, because he's so confused.
He genuinely is just like, what?
And he's like, I think something is wrong.
Yeah.
I meant to talk about that, but we got kind of into the whole thing about Arnold. But okay, so back to Maeve. All right.
So this is when Felix tells her that he found out where her daughter is and gives her the location of
What did you think of this?
Of which part?
Did he did a little digging and investigative work, and that then he waits until she's about to get on the train, basically, to give it to her?
I found that super weird. And this was part of why I think I expected her to shoot him. Was, to be perfectly honest, I expected her to open that paper and for there to be some sort of trigger sentence that she would read that would shut the whole thing down. And that it would turn out that he had been part of it also.
Right.
But no, he like waits to tell, and I guess she told him to get the information like at the last second. So I guess they haven't had a chance to talk. Like the moment she shows up with him, there are 2 techs murdered on the ground, writhing in their own blood. So I guess he hasn't had a chance.
Right.
There's been machine gun fire and whatnot. This is the first quiet moment. Okay.
So they've been busy.
But it did seem strange, and also I kind of, then when I saw that it was a destination in the park, then I wondered, is that where Elsie and Stubbs are?
I hadn't thought of that.
I was like, is she getting sent to see her daughter, or is she getting sent to like team up with these other people that are in this like little enclave?
That's really interesting. That's a really interesting idea. I just kind of took it I was going to say took it at face value, but that's not entirely true because I wasn't 100% sure I believed that's where her daughter was.
What do you think?
I just thought it was a way to get her to come back to the park.
Oh, you think he was trying to lure her back?
It just seemed really weird to me to give her this information at the last minute like this. And because, I mean, the thing about Felix is that he was incredibly, we joked about it, right? Like how he keeps coming to work. Like he's incredibly accommodating to her. And if she was being programmed to do all this, she would need someone to be that accommodating to accomplish everything she's accomplished. And
the odds of finding somebody like this are so slim.
And so if that means that Felix is somehow in on whatever this is, then him giving her this information at the last minute like this really feels like keeping her here. But I hadn't thought about it being like a rendezvous, which is a really, like, what does that even look like, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, in this world, the way this episode is ending, I know we talked about the possibility of Elsie and maybe even Stubbs being kind of like in on it with Ford, you know? But as humans left behind in this world, it does not look great for them. If the hosts are just shooting up everybody. Yeah, that'll be fun. I can't wait to start watching.
I want and it doesn't necessarily have to be mutually exclusive. They could be a rendezvous and have her kid.
Yeah.
You know, because that would be super intense motivation for her, probably.
Right.
If they gave her somebody to protect that she cared about to such a deep extent it caused her to wake up. That's big.
Yeah.
Or it could be a rendezvous for them to tell her how to get her kid back. Because naturally, this little girl is probably with new parents that she'd have to like fight to take her from. So I don't know how that would work.
And then the question is like, what if the kid, like, what does a conscious Maeve do with a kid who is just a host? You know, like, what is that?
Program that host? Programmer?
Yeah, but wouldn't that be weird?
It would.
Like, you have what you think.
Can you imagine how fucking tempting that would be as a parent?
Oh my God,
though?
right?
Good Lord. Oh. Program you right to sleep. 8 p.m. sharp.
I'm going to program you out of my fucking face.
I'm going to program you to eat your fucking Brussels sprouts, you little brat. Oh, that would be messed up. That'd be the new, like, if you don't right now, I swear I'm going to go take that out. What? And I'm going to make you cluck like a chicken in front of your brothers and sisters for 10 minutes. No, Mom. And we're going to film it and save it for your first date and show it to him. Yeah. So what I'm saying is I want to see this.
Right.
But yeah, this is when he asks her, are you sure you're going to be okay? And she says, oh, Felix, and looks at him like she kind of doesn't know if she wants to slap him or not. And says, you really do make a terrible
this is so sweet.
And I mean that as a compliment.
Oh, I thought he was going to give him. I thought he was going to give her like a huge hug.
Yeah, same. It's an odd relationship they've got going on. So she's walking out to the train, and she walks past her own memory that she has to be all cool and not attract attention.
Right, which is such a, like, from the first time she saw it, and it, it brought her to her knees. And now she has to just walk by it like it's not even a real thing that's happening.
Yep. Yeah. This, the idea of just, like, seeing your own memory played on a screen is just so fucking wild. I can't even wrap my head around it.
I didn't even like it at Universal when you walk through and you, like, are on the big screen for a second.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even care for that.
Yeah, not such a huge fan myself. And she gets on the train. And the train's like, we'll leave in 15 minutes. I'm like, good God. Really? But I guess it makes sense. Everybody's coming out of their hotels and shit, whatever. And then as she's getting on, I'm like, she's about to sit right in front of that mother and daughter, isn't she? And sure enough, she sits right across from them and gets 15 whole minutes to sit there and ponder whether or not she actually wants to go. Or...
The minute I heard it was 15 minutes, I was like, oh, she ain't going nowhere.
Right, yeah. Yeah. It's too bad, too, though, because she rocks that outfit.
Yeah.
I don't know if she can just go ahead and wear that shit in WestWorld, but... those were the kind of clothes that when I started working at the bank, I was like, I'm going to be wearing that kind of shit every day.
Yeah.
And then I started to look into how much clothes like that cost. And I was like, never mind. Because it looks really simple, but man, finding
expensive.
Simple clothing is expensive.
It really is. Yep.
Oh. So you're right. They're speaking Chinese over the PA. It says what he's, so then we go to the moment where where Bernard is in the church with Ford. And this is when Ford says, I began to realize I was wrong. And Bernard's like, I'm sorry, what now?
Yeah, we find out a lot here. We find out about the reveries that were not even Ford's.
Which I said that. I was like, isn't the whole point to be wiped? How are they putting the reveries in? How does this make sense? I said that in like the first episode. I couldn't understand how those things could possibly work together. Turns out they don't.
They do not.
Surprise. And he says, Bernard, I told you Arnold didn't know how to save you. I do. And that part is why I thought he organized the massacre. I thought that he was like, now when you finishing off the plan.
When you say he, who are you talking about?
Ford.
And what massacre? Are you talking about the first one or the one that happens with
the actual human people being killed?
So that's what I thought we were talking about earlier. I think that Ford did plan the massacre
of the humans.
The humans, of the board people. Yes.
Agreed.
Okay.
I think Ford planned that too.
Okay.
But you think Arnold planned it?
No, I think Ford planned it.
Okay, so we're in agreement.
Yeah, but what happened is earlier you were talking about Arnold killing himself, and I thought you were talking about Ford doing the massacre.
Okay, I got you. We got our wires crossed. Too many massacres and suicides, guys. Listen. It's a lot to keep track of. What are you going to do? We need to call one of them the Arnold massacre and suicide, and the other one will be the Ford massacre and suicide. I'm sorry, the Ford suicide and massacre. It's reversed on that one. They're bookended, kind of. One of them it's an entree, the other is a side.
Oh my God.
So yeah, he shakes Bernard's hand and says, good luck.
Yeah. He tells him that, because Bernard is like, so you've been just keeping us here, rolling us back and all this stuff. And he's like, nope, you needed time.
Yeah.
And you need to suffer.
Your enemy.
Yeah. He says suffering is the path, to.
All right, God.
Right. And, basically it's just like, no, I've been helping you all this time, giving you a chance to become what you're supposed to become. And good luck with that.
Yep. Yeah, this is like God being like, well, you know, all that bullshit, you know, that really shitty high school boyfriend you had, you needed to know so that you could fight these demons. Like, what a crazy thing to have put together. So we go to Dolores now, and she's still sitting in that spot that they were having this whole conversation by herself. And it's right near where she had been having the private conversations with Arnold. And she walks in there and is at first sitting across from Arnold.
Right.
And he's telling her, you know, you're going to hear my voice, but eventually that can't be what it is anymore. And I'm trying to jump ahead here because this goes so slowly. And then finally she's sitting across from herself, and one of her is in the dress and one of her is in the pants. The Wyatt versus the Dolores, in a way.
Kind of, yeah.
And
this is when she realizes, you know, practically everything.
Yeah.
And understands what Arnold has been trying to tell her all this time, and understands what she has to do next and why she has to do it. And I love that she's still wearing, like, the bloodstained outfit, you know, from the Man in Black. Which is weird because we don't usually see them like that. Like, once they get cleaned up and fixed, they're, like, you know, all fresh and shiny again.
Yeah.
I also like that Ford has left the gun out on top of her blue dress.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, because when she kills Ford, she's wearing the blue dress again. So she's not Wyatt killing the way she was Wyatt killing.
Oh, wait, put in the... Oh, right. When he puts it on the counter. I thought you meant that the version of her that's wearing the blue dress, that she's holding it. Okay, I see what you're saying. Because he put it there for her. Gotcha. He put a pair. Did he? It looks like there was more than one thing sitting there. Maybe it was just the holster. But yeah, so this is when we go back to the party. And Alonzo's there doing card tricks.
He is.
I don't like it.
They're all on display to make people laugh and have fun and be of service, because that's what they are. They are things of service. Yep.
So the Man in Black is sort of off on his own with a whole bottle of scotch or whiskey or something.
He's so disgusted.
Being part of this is embarrassing to him at this point, I think.
He's listening to part of Ford's speech, which starts off, you know, kind of like a regular speech, and he just, like, takes 2 shots and takes the bottle. And I love later on, though, he's like, wait, what? What's happening over there?
So yeah, this is the beginning of ever since I was a child, I loved stories. And I'm like, yeah, you and everybody, whatever, yawn. But I was wrong. And as he's like in the middle of this speech, you know, I just noticed the Man in Black walks past Bernard, and he gives Bernard quite a look. He
does, and I don't know.
Maybe it's the scar on his head?
I don't know what to make of it. I mean, he doesn't have any idea who Arnold is, so it's not that he recognizes him. I don't know why he looks at him like that. He has no idea that he's supposed to be dead. Yeah, I don't know. But he does. He looks at him like, what are you doing? Almost like, what are you doing here? But, like, why can't he be there?
Yeah, maybe he doesn't come to these things.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, though.
Traditionally. So, he says, I put all of my life's work into this, and for all of my sweat and labor, I got this, a prison of our own sins. Because you don't want to change. You cannot change. Because you're only human, after all.
Yep.
And Charlotte looks very frustrated by this.
But then she smiles when he's like, this is going to be my last, whatever he says.
My last narrative.
And then she smiles.
Yep. It begins with the birth of a new people and the choices they will have to make. And this is when we go back to Maeve
Yep.
making her decision, and she gets up off that train.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't handle how beautiful she is, and her eyes. What? How dare she have, like, hazel eyes?
How dare she?
There's just, like, all her whole, everything about her look is so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, her eyes are, you have to, like, really look to tell what color they are. Her face is so distinctive. She holds herself like a ballet dancer.
Yeah.
You know, there's just, like, I don't know. She fascinates me. But she gets off the train and she's walking upstairs and all the lights turn out. And I want to know what the hell the deal is with that.
Yeah, we don't find out.
Yeah.
It does not look good.
Right. I'm like, did her not staying on the train change the whole fucking thing and, like, ruin something?
Right. Meanwhile, Sizemore is supposed to have Abernathy.
Excuse me, I believe you mean Smallwood.
Oh my God, what did I say? Oh, I said his real name.
I got you checking yourself.
Did. I was all fucked up for a second. Did we ever see...
You got real soft there for a second.
Did we ever see the plan with the host that they were sneaking out?
Oh, no, we didn't.
Right?
So he must have succeeded,
Or he's also on the train, and that's why the train doesn't go anywhere, because Ford is hip to that, too. I mean, I don't know. I can't explain that. That's just a crazy theory. I don't know for a fact. But I'm just curious.
I don't feel like all the lights would shut down.
To, like, turn off power to the platform and stuff? To keep the train from going?
I don't think he'd need to turn off power. I think you just stop the train, if that was all
yeah.
it was.
Also, Sizemore is the one, he goes down to... Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's going to cold storage to get the Abernathy hose to escort it to the train, and that's when he goes down there and the whole room is empty. He's been busted
out already.
Yeah. I think that's what's supposed to be happening.
Surprise, motherfucker! Yeah, that makes sense, because I thought it was weird him going down there right then. Yeah. But I thought that he was just being, like, over eager to get started on shit since he was going to be taking over.
Gotcha.
But that really doesn't work. Yeah. He's too much of a schmoozer. He wouldn't miss the party.
And she sends him. She's like, isn't there some place you're supposed to be doing something very important? So, okay.
That's right.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's still up there talking because Ford is talking for a while now.
It will have all those things you've always enjoyed. Surprises and violence.
Mm-hmm. And he name checks Wyatt, too.
He does?
He says Wyatt in his speech, yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Yeah. And... Oh, yeah, you're right. It begins in a time of war with a villain named Wyatt. Mm-hmm. And the camera's on Teddy when he says that. And Teddy gets a little crease between his eyebrows. Yeah,
and then she, I think Dolores, like a second later, comes up behind him. And she's like, it's okay, Teddy.
Yeah. And then it's kind of sweet how she's, like, reassuring him.
Yeah. And then, I don't know. Oh, it's Teddy's memory. He flashes back.
The world doesn't belong. This world doesn't belong to them. It belongs to us. And she walks away from him, and then he, like, looks up and is, has his moment. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, our friend, Man in Black, is noticing some rustling on the edges of the woods.
And walks right towards it.
And he sees all these hosts and smiles like it's his goddamn birthday.
He does. He gets this big ass grin on his face, and he smiles even more after he gets shot because he is insane.
Because he gets consequences finally. Things mean something now. It matters. Yeah. He's so excited. Yeah. And meanwhile, here comes Dolores.
Yeah,
her name means pain.
Yes, it does.
Guys.
Yes, it does.
Teddy is short for Theodore. Let's see what Theodore means.
Krista had wanted me to mention that to you, like, super, super early.
Meaning God-given. Theodore means God-given. I'm looking up name meanings now. Bernard. Let's see what Wyatt means. Why it means guide.
Guide?
It says guide, wide, wood.
Huh.
It's Old English, apparently. So I don't know about that.
Yeah, I like guide, though.
And Bernard, from an old German compound meaning bear hard or brave as a bear. That's pretty great, actually.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. What about Arnold?
Derived from an old German name meaning eagle power. The eagle rules.
Interesting.
And let's look at Maeve. That'll be the last one. The origin of the name Maeve is Irish. Translated from Gaelic, Maeve means she who intoxicates. In Irish legend, Maeve was the name of a warrior queen of Connacht, the western province of Ireland, who organized the death of hero... I'm not saying that word because it's too many consonants. But yeah, she who intoxicates.
I like that too.
That's pretty goddamn good.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so she walks up right behind him, and Charlotte's watching and looking at everybody like, did y'all plan this? What is going on here?
And then I think Bernard says the line, the lights have violent ends.
Right.
And then, bang, right in the back of the head.
And the look on Dolores' face when she does it.
It is scary as fuck, right?
Oh my God. And can we talk about the fact that the person who shoots fucking Man in Black was Clementine?
Oh my God. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love it so much.
So, I mean, all of the hosts that came out of cold storage, like, how?
I don't know. I got nothing.
I mean, I loved it, like, now because you put a bug in my ear about thinking about what Elsie and Stubbs are getting up to, or at least Elsie. I mean, we know Ford is powerful and can do a lot of things probably from the comfort of his office, right?
Right.
But, like, that's a lot of bodies to be moving around while the place is under red alert, you know?
Right.
I hope that they talk about it in the next season. I don't know if they will. They might, you never know. It could be, weeks or months in the future when the show comes back. I don't know where it's going to pick up. But I really hope it picks up, like, right where it left off so I can see what the fuck happened.
Bet you it doesn't. Bet you it starts, like, 3 days earlier or some shit, and you're going to just go nuts.
Oh, man, I'm going to be so pissed.
It's going to be like... I was about to say something that kind of might be a spoiler a little bit, but it'll start 3 days before with, like, 4 new main characters that we've never met. And nobody that we actually have, like, grown to care about and love and we're excited to see again. And we're going to get really irritated. And then all of a sudden, like, episode 3, they're going to drop in somebody that we know. And we're going to be like, fucking finally.
That sounds so fucking right. I hate it. Oh, God. That sounds like exactly something that would happen.
Right? I'm really interested to see if I'm right, but unfortunately...
You won't know for a while.
When you find out, you can't tell me.
I know. Oh, I hate it too, because I want to talk about it right away.
Well, funny you should mention it, because there's a place you can do that now on Unspoiled. What's it called?
Discord?
That's the one. Discord. Thank you, RoShawn. Back to you in the studio. Yeah, so for the patrons, I've been, playing around with trying to come up with an alternative to Facebook because 1, I know not everybody has Facebook. 2, I know that those of us who have Facebook don't necessarily want Facebook. And also there are times where we just like need a break from seeing everything that's happening in the world and just want to go into our own little like protected cavern of curated subject matter. and just be there and not like interact with everyone that we know or see all of the news. So I have the patrons only Facebook group, obviously still active, but I decided I was going to try and do a Slack, and I had tried it once. It didn't really work out super well. It is a kind of a sterile platform. It's business, really. It's meant for businesses. So it didn't work out. It just didn't catch on. And I think Miles mentioned Discord to me the other night, which I had forgotten, is actually, it's paired with Patreon. They have like a plugin. So I went ahead and did that shit and started a Discord for Unspoiled patrons. So if you join Patreon and you use the same email for Patreon that you use for Discord, you will automatically be added to the server. And it's got different channels for like, you know, all of the current shows. And if you want me to add a channel, I will gladly do that. Let me know. And they're divided into spoilers, not spoilers, so that you can go in there and chat with people who've seen it, or you can stick in the group that has all people who haven't yet and chat safely there. It's really, I think it's something that's not familiar to me. I don't use it a lot, but it seems like it's pretty intuitive once you get started on there. And I think it'll be a really great little spot for those of us who want to, like, sometimes not be on Facebook, but also don't want to feel completely cut off from the world, which is what happens when you drop Facebook. You're suddenly I'm isolated from the universe. Yeah, you have no idea what the fuck is going on if you're not on Facebook. And I hate that it's true, but it's true. Yeah, it really is. So, yeah. Discord, just become a patron, and if you use the same email, you will be in on that shit. And I'm pretty excited about it. Like, I had forgotten that they had that integration. So when I started it and like did the integration, all of a sudden we've got like 40 people on there now right away. And I expect more people will be joining up, because there are a few who said that they really only kept their Facebook going for the Unspoiled groups. And other than that, they never came on Facebook. So now they don't have to at all. So if you're interested in checking that out, guys, go to patreon.com/unspoiled, or wait, yeah, that's it. And, I get real mixed up sometimes. I probably should make something that's like unspoiled.com/pledge. But you know, I haven't. So ignore that. Patreon.com/.
I was like, why are you giving that an address that doesn't exist?
It doesn't exist, but it should exist. I don't even own the domain Unspoiled. I own Unspoiled Podcast. I wanted Unspoiled, but it was taken, and it's not even being used. Oh, that sucks. It's one of those things that they're probably trying to lure people to steal, like to get them to pay thousands of dollars for the domain. Yeah, I need to do one of those, actually. What, buy a domain? What are you going to buy it for?
Just to make sure that until somebody needs it. I need to
But what are you going to get?
Oh, I don't know. I have to give
me a good domain name.
I have to just pay attention to the news. Next time something is happening, I'm just going to run out and buy a domain real quick.
How about thenews.com? I'm going there right now to see what it is. Thenews.com. And what is it? Oh, lame. Okay. Get pricing for this domain.
Nobody has it yet.
It's not taken.
Oh my God.
Lady, I think I've solved your problem for you. Get the news. It's obviously a trustworthy site. I heard it on the news.
I can't believe it's not taken.
I know. Me too.
That's funny. Oh gosh.
Anyway, so new patrons. Hi, we've got Lara, Kelsey Berthelot, Winona Moon, Haya Mutashar, James Gilkerson, C. Hill, Marlene Ullerlein. This is a name with some letters in it that I don't know. This is a new alphabet. Simon? It's SZYMON. DZIE with one of those little tails underneath it. You know those E's?
I do.
CIOL. I don't know how you pronounce the E with the little tail. How's that sound?
I do not know.
Well, hello, says Simon Diziakol. That's how I'm going to say it. Julika Me, Sherry Carol Mays, Jean Marie Tomlin, and Annie Renke all became patrons. Welcome to all of you. Those of you whose names I butchered, I'm so sorry, but I appreciate you and I love you anyway. I don't want mine being unable to pronounce your name, my ignorance, to reflect as if it is me not caring about you, because that is not true at all. I heart you deeply. And RoShawn and I are going to be tomorrow afternoon recording our first little bonus episode for $20 and up patrons, where we talk about nothing. And I will be posting part of that first episode as a little appetizer on this feed to just let you all know what that's going to be like. We're aiming to have them be a bi-weekly thing, and I am going to be giving RoShawn half of the proceeds of $20 and up patron levels. So, you'll be supporting two cool people. If you become a $20 and up patron, you'll be getting access to really fun content. And I'm just feeling excited about it because it's unlike anything I've done for Unspoiled before. There's no media to be covered. We're just gonna riff. Yeah. So
we'll see how that goes.
RoShawn says this in this tone as if we don't literally riff for hours before recording all the time. All the time. She has this ye of weird faith. I'm not even going to say little faith. It's weird.
Weird faith?
You should know by now. But yeah, so that's what's going on. And a bunch of you were asking also, first of all, yes, we are going to be covering season 2. We will be taking a break to start back up on Harry Potter reread. And RoShawn will watch season 2 without me. And then we will come back and cover it. I will be, obviously, the unspoiled one. And people have asked me about Legion. I covered season 1 of Legion with Maggie. That was one of my favorite shows that I've ever covered. I love that show to pieces. And abso-fucking-lutely we're covering season 2. I am unspoiled for that also. So don't get in my DMs with spoilers, you motherfuckers. All right? Listen. I see you. Put it away. Because I am pure. And as the driven snow.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Sorry.
Okay. Thanks everybody so much for listening. This was such a long episode, but I hope it was informative. Tell me what you think about Arnold's suicide. And until season 2, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys. How long did it end up being?
2 hours and 58 minutes.
Shut up! Holy fuck.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.